time is it? Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. It's almost afternoon where I'm at, so I have to check now. Good morning. Come on in. We got some things to talk about. Come on. Okay. Let's fix this. Come on in. Come on in. Can y'all hear me? Ain't nobody in here to let me know if you can hear me. I want to be talking to my dang self because I am not above doing that. So come on in, hit the like button. It don't cost you a thing. I want to talk about a lot of things. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. It's going down in the US of A. It's going down. The guys and the gals are mad. Especially the gals. The guys are really mad. Listen, Linda, listen. This whole snatching the EBT, like like the goodness edges occasionally get snatched. These people are not here for it. They spazzing out here on Diddy Internet. They losing their minds. They are straight losing their minds. And I'm just really surprised that the people, the demographic, I don't know, what do I want to say? Like, I didn't know that if you didn't have children, you could collect food EBT card. I promise you I didn't know that, because I remember years ago when my sister got laid off, and it's 3 girls and 2 of us have children, we got families, and then my other sister, she's single, and this had to be like at least 10 plus years ago, but she got laid off, child, and they told her that she could not receive food stamps because she did not have a child. So I always went off of, if you single and you don't have kids, and I guess if you're not getting like a disability, then you can't get food stamps. But now I'm seeing all these young ladies that's able-bodied adults hollering they've been getting food stamps, and some of them, y'all, don't even have kids. I've seen videos. Y'all probably done seen them compilations out there, them Instagram or them TikTok compilations, where there's been women who have been saying, they don't have children and they collect the EBT and the food stamps. And it's crazy because I guess I just didn't know what the requirements was. So I think that's the entire problem. I mean, I'm just listening. Y'all let me know. I think it's a problem for someone who's an able body to collect food stamps for, I don't know, y'all. I watched this video of this one young girl. She looked like she probably was maybe like between 25 and 27, child. The good sis said she went up in the grocery store to swipe her card, and she didn't have enough funds on it, so she had to go in her pocket and pay out her own $50, I guess, to pay for I don't know if it was the additional amount, that she had to make up for that wasn't left on the EBT card. Child, this woman said she called her sister. I think she said she called her sister to just share her cries with her sister. She was like, listen, sister, I tried to use my BT card. There wasn't no money on there no more. I'm going to need to call them folks the next opportunity I get to let them know that I need an increase. Remember, y'all, this young lady looked like she's between 25 and 27. Definitely in her 20s. But she was a black girl, so y'all know how, hell, for all I know, she could have been older than that. But y'all know how we age. That's going to be another live. But she looked very young, and she sounded young, like in her 20s. And so she told her sister, like, listen, I got a problem. Food too high. They gonna need to kind of go up on my food stamps. So her sister goes, oh, well, how much do you get? She said $500. Y'all, why the girl said her sister hung up on the phone on her? She said, y'all, she hung up on me in my time of need. She know I needed to talk to her, and she just gonna hang up on me. Like, what? She wrong for that. The lady said she get $500 in food stamps. She didn't reference, I'm going to say she don't have kids, because she didn't make no reference. She just said because food costs a lot. And me and my brother, I don't know how old her brother is, if they roommating together, but she inserted a brother. But she was like, $500 ain't cutting it. I'm going to need a cool minimum 1,000. I need, Mr. Trump, I need 500 more on that. I need 1,000. Just go ahead and just round it off to 1,000. She said it needs to double. But then she go on to say, but my sister didn't have to do me like that because she know when I be going through stuff, she the person I call. So she didn't have to hang up on me like that. But the sister copped the attitude. The sister straight copped an attitude because, like, really? Like, that's what you getting? I guess the sister didn't know that that little sis or the other sister was getting money like that. So it's a lot of people out here feeling entitled. You know, people that got used to moving a certain way, and it's a whole problem now that things are changing. So that's what I want to talk about. There's a lot of things that are changing. Let me take this off. And how are you? Hey, Janelle. Hey, Zoe. Hey, Ariane. Hey, Jasmine. It's a lot going on. So let me know y'all thoughts. First, thank you, Jasmine. Welcome. Let me know y'all thoughts, because I've just been like fixated on watching these different compilations on people like really being upset. Y'all let me know if y'all can still hear me, because I need to turn my car off and my Bluetooth gonna get jacked up. Hey, T Goddess, how you doing? Happy New Year. I haven't caught up with you. Hope all is well. Can y'all still hear me? Let me know if y'all can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Can somebody let me know? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't want to be talking to myself. Y'all let me know in the comments. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Good to see you. Hey, T guys, can you hear me? Everyone's better trust. Ariane, can you hear me? Y'all, can somebody let me know? Okay, thank you, because y'all know I be getting my sound jacked up when I be traveling in the car. I'm about to do I guess technically it's a walk and talk. But yes, like, people straight in their feelings. Then, so that's the good sis. Thank you, T Goddess. That's the good sis that got pissed off that her sister hung up on her when she told her that she get $500 of food stamps, and that ain't enough because she said food costs too damn much. So that's a good sis. Now we got the other, you know, other sister that's the other color, the palm color. She done went all up and down the internet to talk about what kind of benefits she gets. She said, listen, this the palm color sister, this that one, this the other sister. The first story was this sister. We moving on to this sister. We're gonna call her a sister. She done went on Diddy internet to put all her little business out there talking about this is a problem. Like, listen, Linda, listen. I got 6 kids. I was getting $3,300 in food stamps. I was getting $900 in cash money assistance. I'm supposed to be getting a $40,000 tax return, and my disability check and my kids' disability check. They done put all that on the hold, and I got a problem with it. Yes. She said she got a problem with it. Let me run that back. She said she get $3,300 a month in food stamps. She has 6 children. She get $900 in cash from the government. And she's expecting a $40,000 tax return. Where the hell these taxes? I'm going to need this sister to step to the front of the congregation, because I wants to know where she been paying taxes. If you expecting a $40,000 tax return, that means you paid money into something somewhere. I done told y'all that this woman said she ain't got no job. She's sitting at home and collecting disability. She said, oh yeah, the daycare situation. Her kids got to still be able to go to daycare. Them resources had gotten put on hold too, because, you know, she need them kids to be in daycare so she can get stuff done at the house. That was the first time when she came out telling her business. She circled back around and say, my kids then got fired from daycare. She didn't say that they got kicked out. She said they got fired. My kids have gotten fired from daycare. Hold on, let me do something really fast. Hide is usually on this chair. Remove and all right, y'all. I don't have any mods in here right now, so I had to handle my business real fast. So back to the story. So she does an update, and she's like, okay, yeah, my kids have gotten fired. She said they got fired, y'all. She said my kids have gotten fired from daycare because somebody went up to the daycare and reported me and told them about the money that I collect. And yes, I'm on TikTok, but I only been getting paid for the past 2 months. And I don't know why people all in my business. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to get stuff done around the house if my kids can't go to daycare? Y'all, she meant all of that. She meant all of that. So she then comes back, inserts her husband. This is how I learned, y'all. She got a husband. She got a husband. I'm like, how you got all this popping off with a man in the house? Y'all, it be this for me. Where that whole saying come from, where they say I could do bad by my damn self? Like, do everybody not live by that code? That's the only code I know. Like, I was raised on that code. So she got a whole husband. Then there's this other story with a lady. This lady looks really young. So I just knew she probably was like in her early 20s, y'all. She looks really young. She said she was raising it's like 6 or 7 grandkids. And she got a letter and it said, hey, we snatching away these benefits. We snatching away these food stamps. We even, this little child support check you get for all these kids. We stopping that too. Oh, and by the way, you need to call us and get on a payment plan to run us our $27,000 that we feel that you owe us for defrauding us. So the lady like, I ain't paying them nothing, whatever that. They better prove this. 3 hours later in my SpongeBob voice, she comes back. Okay, y'all. I called them and I got on a payment plan. And I called my sister and told her she come get all these kids because I don't need them no more. Those were her words. So I'm like, damn, so you only had the kids for a check? Because I know that's real, like people do that, but she outright said it. Like, y'all know what they say when you think it out loud? She said, because I can't do what them. They don't benefit me anymore. So she told her sister, come and get all these kids. You've been wanting them anyway. So she packing up her house trying to move because she was like, the government then told her, we're going to take all the child support that you've been getting for the kids. So in about 6 months, your bill will be paid off. She comes back with, a third part. She was like, yeah, they've been asking if I got, about my husband. Well, they've been asking about my husband. Okay, so yes, I'm married because I guess she had done a TikTok. I don't know. Well, let me tell this part first, and I'll circle back around to her previous content. So this is what happened when putting your business out there on the internet just goes wrong, because in the first story I shared, the last story I shared with this sister, we wouldn't have known she was collecting all that money from the government had she not gone on her TikTok and shared all that. Somebody went and dry snitched on her, and now she say the babies and them got fired from daycare. Even though they just got kicked out, she said they got fired. She don't know. Clearly, she ain't no working woman, so she don't know, I guess, what getting fired mean. But we gonna move on. So this other lady, she's like Hispanic descent or whatever. So she was like, listen, I got my grandkids I've been raising, collecting checks for them. Now, since they done snatched it, I called my sister and said, you can come over here and get all these kids because they don't benefit me no more. And yeah, you can have them because I can't afford, if I got to pay this bill, I can't be taking care of these kids. So come on, roll up and get them all. Come get them all. So follow up. Happy Sunday, virtuous woman. Follow up. She comes back. She was like, oh, you all wanted to know. Hold on 1 minute. Okay. Let me start my watch. Might as well get my step in while I talk this, while I talk my talk. So she was like, oh yeah, about my husband. My husband told me he ain't giving me nothing. He ain't putting nothing on that $27,000 bill. He said, she said, now mind you, he got $27,000 right now sitting in his business account for his business, 27. So his wife got a situation over here. He's sitting on 27,000. She said he told her, hell no, I'm not giving you no money. Because in the 12 years we've been married, you ain't cooked, you ain't cleaned, you ain't done no laundry, you ain't bought me ish. What? He went down the list of the ish that she has not done for him in their marriage. Why they were married, I don't know, but I told y'all it's a Hispanic woman, so y'all know other cultures, you know, they be more serious about that whole marriage life than us. So he was still in that relationship, even though he wasn't getting, I guess, seemed like his needs. Listen, he named down a list of things that she was not doing. And she was like, oh, she didn't even argue it because she knew he was right. So she said, I'm leaving, y'all. I'm fleeing. Her words were, I'm fleeing. She said, remember in the last TikTok video, y'all seen me packing up? I'm leaving, y'all. I'm out of here. I ain't telling y'all where I'm going, but I'm gone. And if there is money on my head to find me, please believe my husband will be the first one to turn me in and collect that money. I said, shut the front door. Y'all, it's going down out here. So is President Trump in the process of ruining relationships and ending marriages? Because that woman said she already know her man is straight dropped the dime on her. That's how much he done already told her that she in this by her dang self. Again, why they was even husband and wife, I don't know. I don't know. But but this man, you know, she was like, yeah, he's like, no, I ain't helping you. So I did end up seeing a video where she had previously put out there before. And I've seen women do these videos where they'll like intentionally put these videos out about what they don't do for their spouses. And she jumped on the bandwagon, and she had her video out there about how she don't cook, she don't clean for him. If he run out of deodorant or lotion or anything, she don't buy that for him. If he needs socks, t-shirts, drawers, she don't buy that for him. He is an able-bodied man, and he can do all that for himself. And she don't work, she sit at home. Like, legit, this woman did a whole video out there. So when this man hit her with the reasons why he's not going to come through with her, all she can do is continue to pack up her bags and pick a destination to flee to. Because her words are, y'all, I'm fleeing the country. I'm leaving. I'm fleeing. You know. It's a lot. It's a lot. I've been trying to take it in. It's a lot going on. And you got a lot of people who are not here for these changes. You got some that are. You know, my thing is, if you're an able-bodied person, an able-bodied adult, you should be able to do something to carry your way. But to just sit and just collect money and then get pissed off when they say, okay, in order to collect money, I'm going to need for you to at least put these amount of hours in, that's a problem. That, you know, that's a problem. Because growing up, like when I would come across people who talked about Section 8 or food stamps, I never knew anyone who was receiving those type of benefits who also did not have a job. So it really was news to me when I learned that, like, you got people with these benefits that aren't on disability, that aren't working, because the people that I knew, they always had jobs. Having the Section 8 was something that just helped them out because their money, it wasn't enough for them to pay rent or, you know, to pay for housing for them and their families. I get that. But for those who are getting all these things without having a job, I don't get that part. That's the part where I'm kind of lost at. And that's where I'm shook it. Because I didn't know so many people were benefiting just because they're here. So it is what it is. If y'all can translate, y'all can let me know what's going on in the conversation next to me. But yes, so it's been a lot going on. What I'm hearing is that, so it was another young lady who I saw her video. She said that they took her benefits. She got a letter. I guess everybody getting them pink slips. She got a notice, and it said that you can receive food stamps for 3 months only within let me see what they said. So you can receive food stamps for 3 years, but within that 3 years, you can only, and this is y'all, like, if you qualify, if they say, okay, we see your situation, you qualify. So if you qualify, if this is your situation, listen in. If this is your situation, listen up. In a 3-year period, every 12 months, you can get food stamps for 3 months. Let me repeat that. In a 3-year period, in a 3-year time frame, 3 years. Once a year in those 3 years, you can get food stamps for only 3 months in that calendar year. So that's only 9 times, 9 months that you can get food stamps in 3 years. And that's for the people who qualify. This is what a young lady said. That is for the ones that qualify. She said that letter said that. 9 times in 3 years you can get it. So I guess you need to make that little money stretch for the 9. So that's like 9 months worth of food stamps in a 3-year period of time. That doesn't even equate to a full year. But that's what she was saying, what I guess the notice or whatever she got. I was like, wow. So let's see. Let me get into some of these comments. Virtuous, thank you for modding for me. Thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. Jay says, I am on disability and they took everything, never could get help for me and my children. So my question, and Jay, maybe you can answer this. When it comes to, say, with the people who are getting disability, what reasons are they providing for justifying taking someone's money who is receiving disability? What is the reason? Because I hadn't heard anyone really talk about that. They'll just run down the list of things that's been taken away. What's the rationale behind taking away the money for disability? I'm also wondering, are they snatching everything away from everybody and just doing an audit? And then if they, in their research, if they say, oh, okay, we see you're good, then you're getting your resources back. Is this what's happening? That's what I'm trying to understand, how all of this is working. Because I don't have anyone like directly in my life to kind of talk about. Like, I've just been hearing the people's stories online. So the people kind of in my family that I communicate with, they're not getting these type of resources. So I'm curious to know, like, did they just snatch everything from everybody and say, we're going to review it, and if we find you're qualified, we'll give it back? Because how else could you be doing it? Like, or is the audit being taken place? Because it seems like everybody's stuff been snatched like at the same time? Or is it like this domino effect, and over time people are like, oh, they finally took mine, oh, I got my notice? Like, are they conducting the audits first before, which I think would be best, are they conducting the audits first before snatching your benefits? Or are they snatching benefits and then say, hey, we're conducting an audit, if we find you eligible, we'll give it back? That's the question I have. That is the question I have. I think that it would probably be best for people if you do the audit first before taking it, versus taking it and doing the audit afterwards. That's just my opinion, because there are a lot of people out there I do know who, and it sounds like, Jay, you're one of them based off of what you're saying and your disability. Sounds like you're one of them. There are people out there who do honestly qualify and should be receiving resources from the government. Jay says, they trying to say you owe due to COVID, but I never got more than what the government say I was supposed to have for disability. This is crazy. Another thing, when I was talking to a friend of mine when she was kind of, remember that, I guess it was that last week when they went in and hit the switch and just blocked, or was that like over the weekend, that portal? Because she said she had, so I'm in Georgia, you all. I live in Georgia. My friend is Georgia as well. She's a single mom, and she said her daughter gets Medicaid. And she was saying from what she was hearing, the portal that's used for people, I guess there's a portal that you have access to if you're receiving certain types of government benefits. She was saying that day a lot of people were saying they lost access to the portal. She said that at that time when she and I were talking, she had not checked, it for herself to see what the deal was and if she could get in or how it was going to impact her with her little girl. But, my friend, actually, and here's another thing. This particular friend I'm talking about, she's the one, if y'all caught my live earlier this weekend, the government worker, she worked for IRS. That conversation when she called me, it was to tell me that Trump, as her words were, Trump has forced me to resign from my job. And I'm like, what? And that's when she started telling me, and I forgot, when I was hearing about this stuff centered around workers for the government having to go back into the office. I didn't really put a lot of thought into how it impacted her because she was an at-home worker. She started the job in like September, because I remember the last time I had really caught up with her was like right before she started. So she was excited about starting the job, working for the IRS. She was going to be 4 days at home and 1 day in the office. Friday was her office day. So, remember, he wanted everybody to go in the office. Remember, I'm in Georgia. So, she was saying that they got an email with this whole thing about the resignation. I don't know what would happen if you don't resign, but she said the communication she received was they would get paid through February 6th, I want to say. And then after that, she would get a severance for 8 weeks. That was the communication that she got. And the reason why she got that communication is because now that they're expected to be in the office, it's not enough space for all of the federal workers to be in an office building, because they were doing all this hiring over the years with the mindset of people working from home primarily. So she said at her job, it's like 2 shifts. You either come in on, your office day is either on Monday or Friday. Her office day was Friday. She didn't even have her own desk. She said because they had to share. So the person who she shared a desk with, office day was on Monday. You see what I'm saying? So that's the system that they had going on, to where they never needed to have seats available for all employees. And so there's that. So after that, like a day or so later, I start hearing about this offer for people to get that, where Trump was offering them or telling them they'll get paid through September. So I'm like, hold up, that ain't what my girl said. Well, her little payment offer was, it was for 8 weeks. And child, listen, I know that ain't adding up to go to September, no 2 months. So that's when I started kind of sharing information with her that I was having sent over to me by people, so she can research it, just so she can be in the best position to learn like what her money is going to look like if she were to resign. Because it's a lot of people out here on this internet saying they're not doing it, and don't do it, because he does not have the right to approve, to make that decision to say, hey, if you resign from your job, I'ma still pay you for 9 until September. Like, they're like, yo, like he can't make that call. Let me get in some of these comments. Jay says, I can't afford housing. I'm homeless now and everything. Bertrice, you said you heard it too. Jay said, banks are closing down. Jay, what state do you live in? Banks are closing down and medical help's about to stop. Bertrice says he's doing away with flat and looking to do CDC or crypto. Jay said government workers are getting less. They're about to let computers and robots do jobs. Yep, Jay said I got that from the people in on it. Even at the DMV, they're about to do no human workers. Wow, because I was supposed to be going to the DMV this weekend. My daughter, I need to take her to get her learner's permit, but I got some things that I still need to take care of. But I will say, you all, you know, I got 3 kids, so my youngest is now 15. So I've gone to the child. This is about to be my 3rd time dealing with the DMV with 3 kids. And I will say it's not like how it used to be, at least where I live, where it's super crazy and busy and influx of people. It's not like that. So if they are saying, or if you're saying, Jay, with them trying to go that route with having robots do things at the DMV, I can see that, because I'm not seeing a lot of activity in the DMV. And I didn't know if it was just because I live, you know, so far into the suburbs and the country. You know, I'm in the metro Atlanta city limits, so I'm like an hour away from Atlanta where I live. So it's the country. I live in the South, so it's more of the country where I live. And where I would go to the DMV, it's a little further out. So it would never really be that many people like in there. So I'm like, oh, bet. Is it just this location? It would be pretty smooth experience. But maybe it's the case around in a lot of places where the DMV, and there's a lot of things that are in place to make things more efficient, that doesn't require for maybe people to have to physically show up like they used to the DMV office. But that's very interesting. I know I have conversations with my, you know, the company I work for about how the robots and things like that can impact my field. So it is conversations that we have. I would encourage you all to do just as what I do, is to seek out ways in which you can make money, maybe through things from, you know, digital products, things that don't require for you to maybe have to go and work or report to someone, things that you can do from an entrepreneurial place, because it's getting very shaky out here with these jobs where you have an employer. That's the thing. So we have to kind of pivot. We have to try to pivot our thought process and try to move away from this mindset of our only options to get something is from somebody else, working for someone else. And I think more and more people are starting to move with that mindset, hence why so many people are on the internet, social media, content creators, like I said, creating digital products, ebooks. I have books now. I'm waiting for the hard copy of my books, my products I've created to come to me in the mail, so I can kind of look at them and make sure they kind of meet my quality standard before I kind of start promoting them and, you know, sharing the links. So I'm just waiting. Hopefully sometime by next week I'll have them and I'll show you. But I have some journals, coloring books, notebooks, some things like that, products and things like that. It'll be available on Amazon, and I'm currently working on some more things. So we have to start thinking differently, because we're seeing the writing on the wall with how things are changing and where things are moving to. And what we're seeing is that it's moving away from the need of people, the need of the human body. And we just got to think about, okay, how does that affect me? Think about whatever industry, whatever it is that you do right now. Do you do a job where you truly feel like it's not one that a machine can do, that a robot can do, that can be done through AI? Like, you have to just sit in that and ask yourself that. If your answer is yes, then you have to do your research, get on the internet, start having conversations with people, and learn what are some other opportunities you can kind of navigate into, where you can try to work on increasing your skills so you can be marketable in another industry. Jay said control is the name of the game. Yes. So as it comes to what this whole government, I was watching a video with this lady. She's an HR person. And she was saying that in the Project 2025, I'd heard about the Project 2025, but I hadn't looked at it. But she had a link on her video. And it was like 900 and some pages. It was almost 1,000 pages. But she said in Project 2025 that what we're seeing take place with the government as far as with Trump cutting these jobs, that was written out in that Project 2025. And I guess it indicated, he was wanting to have the government look a certain way. And I had heard that, he wants to, I think maybe Virtuous or someone said something in here about the changing up the government, the look of the government, who's working in the government. So the HR, the person, the content creator who specializes in HR, she said that, I guess according to that Project 2025, the government was wanting to have specific people work it and it not be those people who had been, working in the government and things like that. So she just encouraged and urged people to read it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Project 2025 or put it in YouTube or whatever, see what comes up, learn more about it. I did not know a lot about it, but I would hear people talk about it leading up to the election. And it was one of those talking points that I think people would use when they talked about not being in support of Trump. And they would bring up the Project 2025. So what they saying is that what we seeing was in Project 2025. So check out Project 2025. Ariane says, we are living in the last day, so everyone needs to stay in prayer. I definitely agree with that, Ariane. I don't know how else you can view it. Virtuous Woman says, yep, I need some of it. Like you said, it's a lot, but I'm going to get back in it. Yep. These are the last days, and that's why we all have to just try to, anyone who's familiar with my content, y'all know I'm always talking about discernment, getting into a quiet place, asking for answers, sitting patiently and waiting for answers. And Jay, if you're still in here, I encourage for you to do that. Ask, sit in prayer, sit in a quiet place, ask your questions, and sit and wait for the answers, because they will come to you. That prayer should include asking for resources to come your way and for people to come your way. These are the things that you want. You need the resources and the people. You need those people to be presented for you, because when they're coming at you with these resources, you know that this is aligned with what your prayer was, because he's sending people to you that can see you through whatever it is that you're going through. So that's the prayer. Include that in the prayer. Ask and you shall receive. And when you see people like this show up, don't dismiss it. Keep in mind what your prayer was, because there's no such things as coincidences. Take it as this is what I asked for. This is what I asked for. Jay says, I haven't it to stay out of the government. God is sending and opening doors now. God is sending and opening up doors now. That's awesome. But that's what I know. When things are trying for me, that is what I do. So I always tell other people, just get into prayer and just ask for those things that you want and need, and include, him sending people to you that can help you out with that. Because no one can do anything by themselves. Like whether you're a business, you're an entrepreneur, or you work for someone, we need somebody. If you got a business, hell, you need people to buy your products, right? And most time, if you got a business, it's going to require more than just you to kind of carry it out. If you're going to operate in the most efficient manner, you're going to have someone there to help. So we need people. And I don't like when people try to act like they don't need anybody, or they speak from a place of, I don't need anyone, because that's not true. And if you do have that mindset, I'm pretty sure your lifestyle, the way it looks, the results that you're getting, it lines up with that. And that means that you're not getting good results because your mindset is, I don't need nobody. So guess what? You're not treating people well. You're pushing people away. So yeah, it makes sense that that's your thought process because you don't have a village around or an influx of people who are ready and willing and able to help you. So we got to change our mindset because we all need somebody. We all need somebody. So that's how I think, and that's how what I tell my children. And, you know, a lot of them, my kids are introverted, and, you know, the kids these days, they just want to stay to themselves. And I try to tell them, like, hey, in this real world, you got to engage with people. You can't do things on your own. So you got to get out there and practice communicating with people. Be vocal about what you need, what your needs are, what your wants are, because you got to collaborate. That's collaboration. In any industry you're in, you have to collaborate with people. Effective communication. The earlier you learn that, I always say my first life lesson as an adult coming out of high school was, Mom used to always say, a closed mouth don't get fed. So what that translates to is that I learned that I had to come out of my comfort zone and start talking to people, expressing myself, saying how I was feeling, what my wants are, what my needs are. And I saw that I was getting, results from that way. But first I saw that this is how people who get results, this is what they do. This is what adulting is. You be assertive, what they say it with your chest, So that was my first lesson as an adult. And I learned that from being in the workforce. I didn't go off to college right away after high school like a lot of my peers did. I went straight into the workforce. So I was in a corporate environment and I was like the youngest one. So I was around all these grown-ups who had like real life responsibilities, who weren't living at home. They had husbands, kids, like they had families. And I learned and I paid attention to how they moved. And with the women, very assertive, like you say what you want, you lead with that. And so I adopted that at an early age. And that's, you see me today in this way. But it was about me sitting back, paying attention and seeing how people who get ish done, how they move. It's almost like you study them, you study people. And so if there's something that you want, you have to study it like you're in class. You got to figure out, okay, how can I go about getting this? If that person has it, let me pay attention to that person and see how they're moving. It's not that hard. You just got to be aware of this is how you do it. You just got to pay attention. And that's free. You just kind of, you looking, what they say, you peep gang, you just kind of looking. And then when you get comfortable, you can start having conversations with them, asking them questions or whatever. And here's the thing, you all. People who are successful, people who you admire, they like to know that they're viewed that way. So when I say that, that means that if you have questions for them, how they got to where they get or why they move the way they move, they will tell you. They will tell you because they're happy that their efforts is being noticed. These types of people are very intentional. I am a very intentional person. That's why I'm so open with sharing whatever, y'all. Y'all know I'll be talking about all kinds of stuff. But I'm very intentional. So I don't have a problem with sharing what it is I'm doing, how I'm doing and all that, because that means you are taking notice that I'm doing something that's kind of different. So, and each one teach one. I like to help people. So I'm okay with answering questions and things like that. So that's my personality. And I find that a lot of people who are winning, they don't mind that either. So get out of your comfort zone and start, asking questions, taking your questions to these people who you admire, if they're in your real life. See if, they'll give you some time for you to kind of meet with them or just casually just try to get to know them. Develop relationships with them, and over time you start to kind of get answers to questions you have, or new questions may arise. But that's all in collaboration, building relationships. These things are necessary in order to be successful in anything you do. Always remember that. So that's how I live, and this is how, what I tell anyone whose ear I have with how I live. Anybody wanting to know recipes for success or how to get to it, it start with just healthy relationships, good communication skills. Work on that, and the rest will follow. Let me see some of these comments. Ariane says, we all need to ask God to keep our minds on him. He is the first and the last. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that a lot of times we think about God as like a last resort. Jay says, watch, they are marketing those who to come after. They're about to force themselves in homes, war amongst each other. Virtuous woman says, Sheik, did you talk or heard about the plane crash in Philly? Yes. I think on my last live, I talked about, I think on Friday night, I did a live stream on it. I wasn't planning to talk about that, but when I had woken up from taking a nap, I saw that there was another plane crash. So I had to switch gears. So check out my live. I think I streamed it from both of my channels. So either one of my channels, check out the live. And I went live for like 2 hours. So yes, we talked about it, the news clips. It was a plane with 6 people, a young girl. I still don't know the age of the little girl. A young girl, she was here over in the States from Tijuana, Mexico to have surgery because she had a life-threatening illness, and some third-party organization had put up the funds to pay for her medical treatment. So she and her parents were on the plane with her, along with the pilot and a medical person. So it was about 6 people total. And the plane went down, I think from what I heard when I was listening to a pilot yesterday who has a channel. I think they said the plane went down 60 seconds after it had initially went up in the air, then it kind of came down. So I know they said the plane had only gone about 4 miles, and it's like it doesn't take long in a plane to get to 4 miles, like it would, say, on ground if we're in a car or something. But just as quickly as the plane went up, it came down. And when I left off on Friday from streaming it, they didn't know what type of casualties or impacts, like as far as on lives, there was on ground level, which, makes sense because it's so early. They were like, the police and the paramedics, they were like, when they showed up on the scene, everything, they had buildings on fire, houses on fire, cars on fire. They just said they just seen all these different things on fire. So you got to figure out, okay, where do we start? What's the priority? Because it was just fires everywhere. So they said, and it went down in a highly populated area, whether it's night or daytime. It was like Roosevelt Street or something like that. I've never been to Philadelphia, but it looked like it was an urban community because everybody I seen talking, they were all Black people. And the people who they spoke with, how the news people will kind of interview people, it was like 3 people and they all were Black men. I didn't even see them speaking to any women. So, urban community. I don't know yet what kind of impact it was as far as on the lives, but I would imagine there were some lives impacted on ground from it. A lot of people was able, I guess, from their Ring cameras, it captured it. I can hear people screaming, things like that. So a lot of people, Ring cameras captured the plane going down. So when you look at the news clip, check out my live, you can see there was many moments where the news is replaying the video of the plane just literally like taking a nose dive down. Plane was just like literally like just as quick as the plane went up in the air, it came down. Like this is all within a matter of like a minute, like super fast. And the crazy part to me was that the little girl, they said she fought a hard fight with trying to survive from her medical situation. So she finally gets the treatment, had the surgery, and they were en route to take her back home. So they were heading back home, I guess, to Tijuana, Mexico. That was the destination. And so she went through all of that only for her life to be taken that way. So what I talked about, while trying to cover the news. I don't know how well you all can hear me on that Friday live, but I talked about how a lot of times, like, we may get stuck thinking about the ways in which we'll be taken away from here. We'll get scared about C-19, catching, dying, catching somebody germs, like all kinds of stuff that will have our attention. We are germaphobe, all this and that. But child, more often than not, those things that we be worried about, they low-key really aren't the heavy things to be concerned about, because more often than not, that ain't even what's taking you out. It's something random that didn't even have your attention. So I think a lot about that through life, like when different things happen and people start to put things out on social media, get fearful of certain things. I think about that because I know I've lived long enough to know that more often than not, the things that take people's lives aren't the things that was on their radar that they would even thought would be what take their lives. And I just don't want people to be living in fear, because I think a lot of people live in fear, but at the same time, they also talk about how they are a believer in whatever. And to me, they're kind of like contradictions of one another, because if you truly are a believer the way you say you are, you wouldn't be so fearful on the level in which you are, because it's obvious with how you moving in life that you're living in fear. So which is it? Are you a believer that you're good, that the good Lord got you, or are you not? It can't be both ways. Which one is it? So I say all at the say is that don't become over consumed by things and what you're hearing in the media and the doom and gloom, because I'm willing to bet that this little baby and her family did not expect or think that their plane would go down. Like, we're flying all the time. And I had coming off of like the DC plane crash, I had asked someone in the chat, like, when was the last plane crash? And I think they said it was in like 2008. So plane crashes don't happen very often, but yet we've had 3 different incidents centered around planes going down this week. There was one in Alaska that I recently learned about, and it looks like that one happened on the same day as the DC plane crash. So I missed that one, but apparently there was a pilot in the plane and he was able to evacuate from the plane in time before it went down. So I don't know, they were going to investigate what happened with the plane, but that was his story, so he survived it. That took place in Wednesday early during the day. Yeah. So just stay lifted in prayer. That's like the best that really we could do, is just stay lifted in prayer. Let me see, read some of these comments. Ariane said, yes, virtuous woman is so sad you have to replay it. Yes, definitely replay. Catch that. Jay said Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. Virtuous says, I'm not getting notifications. If you're not getting notifications, I've learned, YouTube says go in, hit the notification bell again. So basically you're refreshing, maybe turn it off and then turn it back on. I also learned with YouTube, if you're not getting notifications, if the person has gone live, I think 3 times, and you didn't go to watch it, it'll automatically kind of take you out of the algorithm with getting, I guess, the notifications. So you have to go in and just refresh, and that's for anybody who you listen to. If you're noticing you're not getting notifications, just go in, refresh the notification bell, just click it off, click it back on. And again, you gotta check out their content, because if they see you do not go and they've done it 3 times, put content out or went live and you did not go to watch, from what I've learned, that's how you get removed from the system, with them notifying you with the notification. So try that. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. So try that and see if there's any change. Jay says, and the military helicopter that hit the plane straight on. Yes, they said even with that situation, that whole air traffic situation, they're short-staffed. And that day, it was only one person working. I guess that night, or when it was at the nighttime. So it was one person working at that time. There was another person who was working, but the supervisor, someone gave them approval to leave early. So at the time of the crash, from what I've heard, it was only one person working. So if one person's working, what other responsibilities were they tasked with on that shift? So you got to be watching these planes. Then you got to be doing some other stuff, I would imagine. Because remember, ordinarily, it's more than one person in there, but it was only one person. So that's some information that I've learned on that. Don't have a lot of information about it, but I did hear that it was only one person working. There was a second person that had gotten approval to get off early. So left one man standing. Jay says the Lord is not to fear of. Yeah, not a fear. Jay says still don't make sense. Yeah, a lot of this stuff don't make sense. And, you know, as Ariane always says, you know, we in our last days. And I think because we can say so much stuff don't make sense, to me, that makes that to be that much more believable about being in the last days, because it's so much that we're seeing and hearing that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So like, what else are you to believe other than, child, this is it, child, this is it. Because it's just a lot of foolishness going on. As for these government workers, who's, I guess, when is the 6th? That's Friday? 1, 2. So I think, you know, the 6th is supposed to be their last day. I just hope that these people do receive what they're promised to receive. Because here's my thing. Living in Georgia, from what I know, when you quit a job, because my friend said that they're being asked to resign. So that's quitting. Here where I live, typically, more often than not, if you quit, walk away from a job, you don't qualify for unemployment. So I don't know if things are going to be different with these people, given that they got these government letters that kind of put them in a tough situation. Will they still qualify for unemployment in the event that, you know, they haven't landed other jobs that make sense, that allow for them to pay their bills, sustain their livelihood? Like a lot of people was making a lot of money doing, you know, working in these jobs. You know, I always heard, you know, government jobs pay well, good benefits, things like that. And she really did enjoy working there. And it was just working out for her. She was working full time, taking care of her daughter, also a student, just doing what what she's capable of doing as a grown woman. Like, she wasn't sitting trying to collect a check, or like, she was working. The most she had was Medicaid for her daughter to help with, you know, medical expenses. So I only hope that these people, whatever's been promised to them, that the government follow through with that. Because it's like, what happens? My question has been, well, what happens to them if, say, they resign and the money isn't coming through? That's going to be on hold, and they're going to get a letter too saying, okay, kind of like where Biden was trying to forgive everybody's student loans, and people are anticipating that. Some people it's happened for, some people it hasn't, and then they telling you to hold the line. Are they going to tell these federal workers to hold the line? Like, okay, we got you, just be patient. Meanwhile, they still got bills and things coming. Jay say no money. Like, where's this money coming from? And that's the thing. So what I'm hearing is as to why, like, where people say federal workers don't quit, because federal workers, at least from what I hear from the IRS, they're unionized. So when there's a union in place, I've never worked underneath a union, but I know people who have. people who have been a part of like starting up unions, people can't just come in and just take your job away like that. It's a process. Even when it comes down, with firing, like everything is a process. So it's not that simple where you can say like Trump show, you're fired. It's not like that. So that's why a lot of people who are aware of that are telling these people, hey, do not resign. Let them go through whatever processes they need to go through, but don't resign. But the question I have is, if you don't resign, or say the ones who are working from home, and it's not a matter of them still showing up to work every day, what does that look like? Like, to not resign, what does that look like? Is that you just not signing off a form? Because I would imagine there's probably like a document that they would be expected to, I imagine there's a document that they would be expected to sign off on. So do you just not sign the document? I don't know. It's just so crazy. It's just an interesting, tough place that these people are in. So I have a lot of questions about that. Just given that I know with like my friend's situation, she works from home. So it's not a matter of her just still showing up to work every day. She work at home. Fridays is her only office day. So what does that look like for her to quote unquote not resign? Is it just her not signing off on a document saying I resign? I don't know. So I'll definitely try to, keep you all updated as far as with that situation, given that I know someone personally who's been impacted by it, and see kind of how it's going for her. The other question I had was why she was only promised 8 weeks, but then in the media, I've been hearing that he was promising people to get paid through September. So how is it determined which ones can still get paid through September versus the ones who get 8 weeks? Is it based on the type of position that you do? Is it based on your tenure? If you put X amount of years in, because I would imagine people who put in like years, like their salaries are like up there. My friend's salary wasn't like, it was like in between $40,000, $50,000 range. So, but for government jobs, that's kind of low. But for other people who've like put years in and who are close to retirement, it's like, okay, are those the people who are getting promised better packages and things? I don't know, y'all. I just been having a lot of questions about this. It's just a lot going on. Jay says, more fear, more distractions. Something's going on. Look for the help from government, which controls food. They talking to the owners. Virtuous says, do they have a choice though? Jay said, lies. Virtuous, I trust her before the media. So it's crazy. So that's why I'm like, y'all, you just got to pay attention. Don't just go off of just like, I call it, you got mainstream media. That's going to be your Fox News, CNN. Then I call other media outlets that's like from other countries, or what's the other app? I call it like the underground news, where it's not mainstream, but you're hearing about it through other avenues. Because I don't think mainstream is always the most forthcoming or honest with us. More often than not, I don't believe it. So I don't watch the news. I just don't. Telegram, that's it. I call that underground news. And I call it underground news is because it's news that only select few have. More and more people are starting to become aware of that particular outlet of information. Telegram is an app that you download, and it's not regulated by the government. So you have various new people just posting information from around the world. And it's mostly information you're not going, probably 90 to 99% of the information you're not hearing on mainstream news. Or a lot of times you'll hear it first there before it makes its way to like your mainstream news, which is going to be your CNN, Fox, all the alphabet news networks. So when you know, you just move differently when you know certain things. And I know certain things, so I just move differently, and I don't necessarily run with whatever the government is saying. That's why I don't get in panic mode like some may, because I don't trust it like that. I just don't. So pretty much if the government on the mainstream say one thing, I'm probably looking the complete opposite. That's kind of, for the most part, kind of how I move with my thought process. Jay says you get more true information from people posting information about what's going on in areas. Exactly. So today, before I went live, what actually motivated me to go live today was my sister had sent me this TikTok of a video where a woman was urging people to pull their money out of their 401k. And she said that because she found an article that showed where other countries are placing bets on basically our country's downfall. So she's like, if you got money in 401k, either pull it out or try to move it around into something less risky, because like a lot of companies or a lot of people, when I was looking in the comments, they were like, well, my company don't allow for me to pull out my money out of my 401k. Because from my experience, when I've left companies, that's been the only time I've been able to kind of fully pull out all my money, not while I was there. Usually, like, while I'm there, I can choose to stop paying into it, but I can't just say, hey, run me all my money. They won't do that. But what I've learned when I was, reading the comments where people are like, well, no, but they have to give you options to be able to shift your money around. They have to do that. So for those of you who do have 401k, look into that. See if, one, you can either pull it all the way out, and then two, if not, see if you can move it around and put your money into less risky, less risky type of businesses or whatever. So you'll have to research that, because I'm not really versed in big into like the stock and know what to do what. But I do pay attention when people talk about when something's not doing well and how you might want to kind of move around. I will pay attention to that and start from there with doing my research to see what my options are. So that's on my to-do list this week, is to try to see, what I can do as far as with moving money around to where it's in my best interest. Because she legit, and you probably can Google it, countries betting on the U.S., the downfall of the U.S. Because she showed an article or whatever, but it was on one of those like TikToks, so y'all know those be kind of short. So check that out, and I just want to put that information out so you'll know how to move, because as someone says, like, we get more information from like people in the social media. Hey, did you all hear, did you all catch that first press conference that they did with the what do you call that, Trump's the press secretary? I can't think of her name. The light woman with the blonde hair. Can't think of her name right now. But she did her first, I don't know what you call it, meeting, conference, whatever. She got up there and talked for the first time, I think on Wednesday or something like that. And I think she's 27. They say she's the youngest person in history to hold that position. So basically, she has a position that, remember, Corinne Jean-Pierre for Biden, remember the black lady with the naturally curly hair? She always looked like a doll to me. But so this woman holds that position. And what did she say? Trying to think of why I brought her up. She said that they're going to now start allowing for content creators to attend those press conferences. That's what it is, a press conference. She said that, in the past, that's never been, allowed before. So now content creators like myself or whoever, you can go through the vetting process. Caroline, thank you, Virtuous. Yes, I think that's her name, Caroline. Sound about right. She looked like a Caroline. But they said that now content creators, the press secretary, thank you, Yvonne. The press secretary, Caroline. The content, Yvonne, I don't know why you're not showing up as moderator, standard managing. Yvonne, I don't know why you aren't listening as showing up as a moderator on here for some reason, but say something, Yvonne, to see if I show you as the moderator, because it's not coming up as you being my moderator. But anyway, so she said going forward for future press conferences, content creators are able to be in the room, and they're designated the first 2 rows of seats. So I guess in the room, In the room, there's 2 rows of seats. So they're saying that those rows are going to be dedicated for content creators. So they will just have to go through like the vetting process, application, probably background, make sure you ain't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And, they run the background, make sure you good. And yeah, so they'll let you in the room. It's basically you getting priority because she said the first 2 rows are going to be dedicated to the content creators. And yeah, so remember when Trump was running, he sat down, he did something centered around, I think he sat down with a content creator or something like that. And from what I had learned, that his son, Barron, because Barron's a young man, he's like 19, 20, he's like around my son's age, my oldest son's age. But his son had encouraged for him to, maybe it was Joe Rogan, maybe he sat down with, I don't know. But his son had encouraged for him to basically not sleep on social media and tap in with those large, those content creators. And that's what he did. So they said they're not sleeping on the content creators because they understand that content creators are like the new media. People who, how often do you hear anybody talking about really TMZ, CNN? Like, really, it's about what big content creators said what. Most of the time, we not on here reporting news or talking about things that came from something mainstream. Nah, we not doing that. We're talking about some person who got a TikTok account. And like I said, with the young lady who shared the information about the 401k, we're talking about that stuff. Because stuff like that, mainstream media don't want to put that, that on the internet because it's not beneficial. They don't want to everybody running, taking their money out of the stock market, doing all that. So they wouldn't dare tell you that information because they're invested in it. Whereas with us regular people, ground level, it's almost like we're not vested in the downfall of people. So we're trying to look out for one another because we want someone to do that for us. And what we see is almost like right now, it's like them against us type situation where, and I've said it for a long time, to me, this government, this world is centered not so much around race anymore. It's about social economic status. It's about, where your tax bracket lies. And I've seen that for the last several years that it's been about that and not so much about skin tone, because you got a lot of people who are black, who are other groups of people, races, and they're in those rooms and getting those benefits and getting that celebrity, that special treatment that a white person gets. So it had me to think that, we not on some black, white stuff time like it used to be. It's a social economic class. So I've heard plenty say that there's no longer a middle class. It's either rich or poor, the working poor. There's no middle class anymore. And it's been removed because over the last, I would say in the last 8 years, a lot of the jobs that have been impacted, it's been those middle, so ordinarily I would fall in like the middle class range. But if you remove that range, I would consider myself the working poor. So I make a good amount of money for myself and then with my husband, but then with the cost of things, I don't feel like I'm just leaps and bounds above the masses, even though from the statistics, it would show that I am. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, you saying I'm in the top 2% or whatever, top whatever, but that's not what I'm feeling in my everyday life. So that's why I view myself as more of the working poor. And a lot of the jobs that have been impacted over the years where people have lost jobs, it's been people who follow in that middle class that was making a good amount of money working the white collar jobs. So it's like the rich versus the haves versus the have-nots. The haves versus the have-nots. So when you view it that way, you're removing ethnicity, race, all of that is gone. Because you got a lot of people in different racial groups who making money. And guess what? A lot of the black people who making money, they're in rooms with those white people who are making money. And people tend to vote for their best interest, which you should, but that's what's happening. So the rich are lining up with one another and moving accordingly. And the not rich, which a lot of them happen to be content creators, are doing what they do, banding together by getting the information out there to share with the people. So that's where the them against us come from. And the us is content creators, those who listen to us. We all kind of fall in that same group. The them is going to be your politicians, your mainstream media, all those people who are vested in our downfall and us not making it. That is the them. So a lot of times, it's just like how you view things. And that's how I view things. Virtuous Woman says the new 1%, right? So, a lot of people who bringing in the money like that, they not feeling it. You can talk to them. It's just like, I don't feel like, I'm winning like they trying to say I am when when you Google my, the stats on where I fall. Like, it's like, I don't feel like I'm living that way. And the craziest thing, remember, as I talk about how you got different people that got different, they got money now. I had went live last weekend. I was about to go for a walk and I jumped on someone's, hold on, let me stop my watch. Okay, so last weekend when I went live, I jumped on a platform. It was a male guy that I follow, and sometimes I'll jump on his platform because he'll like me to come up there, because it's not that often women will come through and give a female perspective. So I'm like, I got time today. So I went up there, but we were talking, and because I was in front of my house, so they seen my house. But as I'm talking and what I'm saying, they started to, or I guess the men or people in the comments, he said they were saying, oh, she must be with a zaddy. And I was telling my mom the story. She's like, what's a zaddy? And I'm like, no, I was telling my husband, because he was driving me. We ended up going to a park. So I'm sitting there talking to them and he's driving. And they were like, yeah, he was like, yeah, in the chat, they saying you must be married to a zaddy. So they were basing this, you all, based off of just my talking points, which was centered around, I think the overall discussion was centered around like weight and things like that. Y'all remember the situation that just happened recently with the rapper who's like 500 pounds and she said she was suing Lyft because the driver refused to give her a ride because he said she was too big? Y'all remember that? Did y'all hear about that? That was something else that happened like last week. I had never seen or heard this woman. I don't even know her name. Never seen her. But she's 500 pounds. I can't remember what state it's in. But the guys were talking about that. And I jumped on. And the content creator knows me. And I've gone on there before. He knows he calls me the fitness lady. And so he always shows me love, whatever. But I was standing in front of my house. And they just assumed that because of what I was saying about how I take care of myself, things like that, and then they seen my house, they just assumed that I was with a white man. And it was this craziest thing. And I'm like, no, my husband black. Like, what? Just because I live, I'm like, I don't live in the hood. I never said, but I'm like, all black people don't live in the hood. Sorry. So it started out in front of my house. Then I got in the car because my husband and I were on our way to a walking trail. So I was talking, and before I ended the live, they caught a glimpse of my husband in the back. And they're like, oh, that's your husband? I'm like, yeah. So he was like, can I talk to him? So I turned it around and let him talk. They was able to see my husband is black. Now he's light-skinned. He's a light-skinned black, but he's black. Like when you see him, you see like he's black, but he's light-skinned. But it was just crazy how, the assumption was just because of what they saw of my house that I was with a white man and not a black man. So I say all that to say is that you have black people who are doing well, or who's making certain money. But like I said, still, with the cost of everything, it's not like we're actually like feeling like we live in like this lavish life. Like, it's not like that. Yes, I have a nice house, but child, I'm like the girl with that was getting the $500 food stamps. Listen, I need more. I need more. So that's the thing. That's why I say this, our society, it's based off of class, like socioeconomic status. When I say that, I mean your class. That's socioeconomic status, like what your tax bracket is in. And I think that we're separated by that, in where I say the haves and the have-nots. And so it's not about the race. And in that conversation, I had to tell the gentleman, like, no, I'm black. I live this way. You see my house, like, child, I don't know how much, they just seen what the house looked like on the outside. I don't know. They formed all kinds of damn opinions. So for me, I don't look at that and think that it's my lifestyle. So I don't look at it and think that it's so like out there because it's just the lifestyle that I live. But other people will view, what you have is just like really grand because it's more than what they got. So I just found that interesting how they just judge. And I'd never seen anyone say that to me when I've gone live and so happen being at my house, where they'll kind of equate me being with a white man because of how I live. So I found that to be very interesting. Virtuous says, well, if they see mine, they may think I'm with someone from Dubai. And Virtuous says, you work to get what you want and what you can afford. Exactly. So, yeah, it's just very interesting. And I think that for someone to feel that way and make a comment based off of something, say, we may think is like the norm, it has me to wonder what limits they've placed on their own lives for them to feel like being a black person, a black man, that is not obtainable. That's very concerning, because only someone's going to make a comment like that when they don't feel like they can achieve or get more than what they got. Does that make sense? Because if you know that something's achievable, you're not going to form these assumptions about what type of person a person may be with based on what they got. Anybody can have anything. It's just, what is your job? Like, they didn't even go into, hell, I guess they formed an assumption that I didn't even work. Because they didn't put it on why I couldn't put myself in the damn house. So in that conversation, I'm like, no, I'm married. I remind them, I'm married. I've been married over 20 years. I'm married to a black man. So to me, it spoke to just the mindset of, the people in that chat. And I guess maybe the demographics or the type of people that he attract for his, I ain't gonna lie now, it's a ratchet channel. It's a ratchet channel. Sometimes, I just want to listen to something different. So I'll tap in with him because it's just something different than I listen to. And I just think he's hilarious and he be talking crazy and stuff. But based off of like his chat and what the people were saying, it kind of told me that, okay, these are, the people who are following him, they come from a different demographic. Because remember, I always say you find your tribe. So that is his tribe. So his tribe is black men who feel like there's a cap on how they could live and what they could have. Because if they did not think that way, they wouldn't have questioned the type of man I was with simply based off of my house. Let me read some of the comments. Jay says, small minds. And we all come, a lot of people, you have humble beginnings. I have owned houses that we lived in. I've rented houses. Like, you evolve. You move around. So you might be in something small. Hell, you may not be in something small down the line. Or somebody be in something big now and choose to want to be in something smaller to downsize because the kid's gone. Like, you evolve. It's about where you are in life. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, just because you're here today, February 2nd, 2025, that does not mean that you have to be here in this same exact spot 1 year from now, 2 years from now. You have control over that. If you want more, you do what it takes to get more. If you want less, say if you want to downsize, some people intentionally make the decision to downsize. They're like, I don't need all this. They'll do just that. So it doesn't equate to have a bearing on who you are as a person. That's what I'm saying. Virtuous says, not to mention why it is that white people are rich and blacks are poor. That's crazy. Yes, it's crazy. And that's why I say, when you know, you know. And people who got money, white people got money, they know there's black people who got money too. That's why I say it's a class situation. It's socioeconomic status. It's not a race thing, because these people who got money know that other groups of people got money too. Why? Because they see those people in rooms with them. So they know, okay, black people got some, there's some black people got some money too. But you got, I guess, a good number of probably black people or people of other ethnic groups who not aware of it like that, because they're not in the environment with those people. They're only, see, that's why it's important to step out of your element and sometimes to go into a different environment, to travel, because you come to see that people live differently. And when you see how people that look like you live in a way that you just couldn't even imagine, that's a motivator for you to continue on. So therefore you can get there. My brother, I have a brother, and he had did time, and he talked about when he was away, he would think about the conversations he and I would have, and me driving him around and showing him, because he's my younger brother, showing him neighborhoods that black people lived in. And he never knew, he was raised in Mississippi with his, grandma and dad's side of the family and dad. And so here, being in Atlanta, if you're any of y'all familiar with Atlanta, or if you're not, people are doing a doggone thing here in Atlanta. Like, like what I got going on my house ain't nothing on what a lot of black people have here in Atlanta. You have a lot of black people who are really living well here in Atlanta. So he talked about how he remember when he was young, he was a young man, a young adult, but seeing the neighborhoods. And he said when he was away, because remember, y'all, I always say everybody got to have something to be motivated by. He said when he was away, he would reflect back on those, the conversations he and I would have, the neighborhoods I took him to, because he said one day he was going to have one of those homes. He saw that it was achievable. And he saw that because he saw with his eyes. It wasn't somebody telling him or him forming some beliefs based off of whatever. He saw for himself. So he would tell the other men that he was locked up with, about this. They'll get together. Hell, you ain't got number time on your hands. He would have these conversations with these men and say, yes, like my sister, she showed me these communities and these houses. And they would just be like, wow. And they just looked at him to be such a blessed young man, to have just people outside that was waiting on him, that loved him and wanting to see him, because a lot of people who are away, they ain't got that. They ain't got nobody that's on a different type of level that's motivating them, to tell them, to show them that there's another way and you can have more. They ain't got that. So they would tell him, he said, like, wow, they were telling him just how blessed he was to have that, and just was amazed as he would talk about these homes that he saw in Atlanta, Georgia, in metro Atlanta, Georgia. I don't even live in the city in Atlanta. I live on the outskirts. So he saw these houses on the outskirts. And these men were like, oh my God, word, like, because they never seen anything like it. But my brother did. And it helped him as he was doing his time over I think he did maybe like 7 years by the time, after getting out early, good behavior, all that. He said that's what kept him motivated, because he knew it was possible. So it all goes back to the mentality and the mindset. If you believe it's achievable, guess what? It is. If you believe it's not achievable, it ain't. It ain't. You are what you think. You are what you think. Our lifestyles and our results is an indication of our mindsets and what we think. Have we put caps on ourselves, on our lives? Have you allowed for other people to put that cap on you just because they haven't been able to achieve it, and they try to tell you it can't be done because they haven't been able to do it? Are you falling for that okie doke? Because a lot of times people don't want you to elevate above them. So they'll say whatever to have you think that you can't do more than what you're doing. That's why they say you are the company you keep. You have to surround yourself and put yourself in rooms with people who are doing bigger and better things than you. It's a motivator. It makes a difference. I promise you it makes a difference. Virtuous says, exactly, the only color money is green, not black or white. When you know, you know. Jay said, I was just saying that to someone, and a black man, I told them, we all can get everything we want in the world. Just do it and change your mindset. That's what I live by. Michael Jordan, just do it. Just do it. Even with, I tell people over the years, I have a lot of education, and people will ask, like, how'd you do it? I was doing all that, being married, kids. I'm like, I can't answer that question. I just put my head down and went to work. I just did it. I just knew it needed to be done. I just knew it needed to be done. So sometimes we don't have the answers. Really, our answer is just simply, I just did it. Like, it ain't that deep. Y'all probably heard me say, I'm going to say all the time, it ain't that deep. All this ish that I be telling y'all, it is not that deep. It's real simple and basic. It is real simple and basic. It's just about taking action. It's about taking action. I work for the things I have. Everything in my life, I was intentional about it. I wanted more, so I went out and did more, so that can be, I can achieve more. Like, y'all, when I say this shit, it's real basic. It's real basic. It really is. It really, when you know, you know. Virtue said, ooh, that explains you should have started off with that chic. Oh my God, Ratchet Channel, that is. Yes, I guess so. Yeah. Every now and then, y'all know, I meet people where they are. So, because they were calling me, they was like, they were asking me if my son brought home a ratchet chick, how would I feel or whatever. So I was talking about that and saying, it's not about where she come from. It'll be about, like, is she leading with respect? Is she respectful? Like, is she respecting my home? Is she respecting my son? Like, it's about all of that. She ain't even got to speak the most clear. Like, I know everybody ain't going to come from our background. It's just like, is she a nice young lady? Like, listen, it's that. So he started calling me, bougie and stuff like, he's like, oh, you one of the bougie ones, because I said I wasn't going to be here for anything else. So, and I told her my sons, like, they already know, like, listen, don't be bringing no ratchets up in here, because I'm going to definitely tell you she ain't welcome. And I'm going to ask you where the hell you find her at. But if you want to still play around with her, you do that over there. So that's when he started calling me bougie or whatever. But I was fine with that. But I have standards. So if that's what you want to equate it to, but it's not centered around me judging somebody about where they come from. It's about, like, how are you carrying yourself? Because the life that I live today and I provide for my family with my husband, it's not exactly the life that I grew up in. I wasn't raised in a hood, but mostly it was a single mother, holding it down with 4 kids until my brother went to live with his father when he was about 12. And my brother's about 6 years younger than me and my sisters. So for mostly, I guess, my teenage years going into adulthood, early, adulthood, it was just my mom, my 2 sisters, and myself. So I saw what hard work looked like. And that's what motivated for me to work hard. Remember, I would say you got to find a motivator. I saw how she made it do what it do by herself. And I aspired to not feel like I needed to make it do what it do by myself if I had a choice in it. So it was my choice to choose to first identify someone I wanted to do this thing called life with, and then, us kind of build this family. It was my choice to do it in a manner in which I did. And I've been married since I was 23 years old. I'm 44, so I've been married, over 20 years. This year, October, will be 21 years. So again, it was by design. It was by design. I knew it was possible. It started there. I knew it was possible. Just because my home didn't reflect it, my other family members' homes, some of them may not reflect it. My mom was married to my brother's dad for a period of time, maybe about 4 to 6 years. But I knew it was possible. I knew it was possible. So I went out and did what I did because I knew that everything that I desired, it was possible. It was possible. So if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and put that work in, you too can have those things that you want. So don't think that somebody better than you. No, I mean, if that's what you want, you learn, you research it. Like I say, you do your homework, you figure out how to get to it, and you get to it. Jay says, but your mindset is still, you want it better and you did better. Everything starts there. I knew, being raised in a house with a single parent, I saw the challenges of that. So I told myself, okay, well, if our lives is centered around choices and the decisions we make, I want to try to do some other things differently. Like, if it's up to me, if you're telling me that this thing called life is up to me and I have control over certain things and it's centered around the decisions I make, bet I want to make this decision. I see what it looks like when someone made the other decision. So let me try to do the opposite and see what happened. Y'all, it's really like, it's simple. So if you already know the outcome based off of a decision that somebody made when they did something, and you know there was an alternative way to do it, to me, it's only common sense to want to explore that other option because you already see the results of the most chosen option within your community. So for me, because I've always been a deep thinker, logical. I was a quiet kid. I wasn't talking like I be talking now. I was quiet. I just kind of paid attention. So what I saw within my community, which means my my people, family members, mom, aunts, cause I saw the decisions they were making. I'm like, okay, I see they all made these common decisions, but there's also another option, another explored option out there, which is, hey, identifying a man first, as a husband material before starting to have the babies. There's that option. Buying a house, doing all that. I'm like, well, let me explore that option. I mean, hell, I know what the other option is, but let me try this over here, the unexplored territory. I tried the unexplored territory and it worked out for me, but it was me taking a chance to try something different, something that wasn't shown to me, that wasn't shown to me on that type of level in my home or in my family, but I saw the example of it in my best friend's home or the other homes of, other classmates that I may have had, but mainly my best friend. She just lived in my community and, we lived in a pretty, nice community. We rented, they owned. But in California, like, you can have, like, so say if you Section 8, different type of housing, you can still live in a nice community and still, live in housing like that. So my best friend lived, we lived in a nice community, and her parents, married, 2 kids. My friend and her sister went to church Wednesday, Sunday. Like, they just lived a different type of life. So I knew that it was other ways of living out there. And I always reflected on that. Kind of like when my brother talked about when he was sitting down doing his time, he thought about the things I exposed him to that gave him the motivation to know that it was a chance that he can have more. It's the same way. I saw it in my friend's household. She didn't know at the time that I took notice of that and it meant something to me. She didn't take notice of that. I told her years later. Because here's the kicker, you all. This is how sometimes people will not really appreciate their situations and really make the most out of it. Because remember, my friend, her parents married forever. Basically, her parents were the equivalent of like me and my husband, married with kids, whole family. She went off to, parents were very strict, didn't have a boyfriend in high school, went off to college, first semester, got a boyfriend, got her first piece, got pregnant, moved back home by the end of that first year in college. So she went back home as a baby mama, now single parent. I think her and the boyfriend were already broken up before the baby was born. So now she had to live at home, travel, commute to college. She went to Sacramento State. She had to commute to college. Parents helped her with her son. Yeah, and to this day, she's a year younger than me. She'll be 44 this year. Still, she never had any more kids after that. So lesson learned, one and done. So that's good. But she still never got married. Her sister life pretty much mimics what they grew up in. She found her husband. They created, bought a house, got a beautiful kids, family. Basically, her sister's life is equivalent of mine. So, same household. Oldest daughter became baby mama. Never married still to this day. Younger sister got married, house, kids, all of that. Basically what she grew up seeing. So again, sometimes we can grow up in these environments and our parents and people who are caring for us are giving us all the tools that we need, and we still choose to do something different. So again, it goes back to the decisions we make, what we choose to do. The way I equate it all is that my friend's family, her life, I valued it and I paid attention to it more than she did. Because based off of statistics, the type of home I came from, our lives would be flip-flopped. Because stats show if you were a product of a teenage parent, you are likely to have a child also as a teenager. That, I don't know if that's the current stat still, but for a long time, that was still the stat. She was not the product of a teenage parent, nothing like that. But she became at 19, 20, a mom, a single mom, never ever raised her son with the father, always co-parenting, baby daddy issues. That is not where she came from. She knew the way to go about doing things. But my life looks more like what she was raised up in. It was me. In my mind, I knew that that is what I wanted. I paid attention. With her, she was just living. She was just there. She wasn't paying attention. Little sis was paying attention, but she wasn't. Still at 43 years old, still never been married. Her son's grown. He might still be in college. He might have finished, but she still have yet to get married, find her person. She's never been engaged. She's never told about anyone ever. She was in a relationship with a man, strung her along for about 5 years, probably more than that. She finally woke up and got out of that. But what I'm saying, y'all, is she knew better. She knew better. If I knew, she damn sure knew they was her parents. She lived in the house with them. How, Sway? How? Like, how? How? So that's what it's about. You know, we got to pay attention. We are in control. Welcome, Hassan. What's up? You says, hi. If you American, please tell me why when I tell 18-year-old girls, a lady, to get blocked, and why when I'm from Jordan, I get blocked too. When I tell rich girls, wow, you amazing, I get blocked too. I don't know, Hassan. And don't block me too. Hey, Rhoda, how you doing? Over here, you only get blocked when you just get to doing the absolute most. So I ain't seen nothing like that, Hassan. So I'm going to say you good to go over here. Hassan says, yes, you saying the truth. It's not just with the black. Even us white people with black hair are rejected from these blonde hair people. They think they better from everyone. We, the Jewish, don't do the same. What I have come to learn is just in almost every cultural group, there's biases, like a lot of times centered around dark versus light, even with the Indian culture, Brazilian culture, Asian culture. Over in Africa, it just seems like the lighter you are, the better. And to me, I rationalize that as the closest, what they say, when you white, you're right. So the closest you are to the white skin, you're better. As far as with the hair color, Hassan, you mentioned, that's a new one to me. I've never heard as far as with the brunettes versus the blondes, but I do know there is a reason behind why even say women, white women, like to dye their hair blonde. So I believe there is something centered around that as to why they want their hair blonde versus wearing their natural color. I personally, if I were to just really think about it now, I think it's centered around when you think of a just lily white person, I'm just going to say in America, you're thinking it's always going to be the description of blonde hair, blue eyes. That is the description of a lily white person I have grown up hearing in my 44 years. So if that is a description of the white person and someone is wanting to make it very evident and clear that they are the white person, they identify with that, I can see why they would strategically want their feature, want to aesthetically look that way. So that's all I got on that. But as far as the skin tone, I know that's a real thing. And I've talked to, like, I learned about, like, with the Brahmin, like with the Indian culture, like people in Dubai, I don't know if you would call them Middle Eastern. Like, I know what I've learned, or just with the Indians, is that the lighter complexion Indians, they have they're considered to be the more affluent versus the darker complexion ones. So like if we see, like, I think they call them, like with Kamala, the Brahmin, something start with the B. They'll, you see Kamala's skin is light. Those are the people with the money. They got the money. So if you see the darker, like sometimes in maybe gas stations, you'll see a lot of times, you'll see maybe a more darker complexion in Indian. From what I've come to learn, they wouldn't be classified in like a group that would be looked at as like, okay, that's the respected group. So, I mean, it goes on, and, you know, there's something to me that within every group that people are just battling with and fighting for our lives. Hey, Karen, how are you? Hassan says, we don't forget when these blonde people in Germany burn us just because we are Jewish and we have black hair. That's crazy. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not familiar. I've never been to Germany. I think from what I've learned, I've heard that it's a lot of racism in Germany. I've heard a lot of, you know, people, anytime usually in conversations when Germany comes up, it's someone talking about once maybe been stationed there in the military. But I definitely have heard that there's a lot of racism there. Hassan says, Hassan's, what are you talking about? Join the convo. Not sure what you're talking about. Drifter says, hi, I'm from the UK. Welcome. Yeah, things are different. I mean, I understand, you know, people, you know, I don't know, want to insert, you know, what's going on in their countries. Like I said, there's biases everywhere you go. And we all got something that we have to navigate through. Just like right now, the Mexicans, you know, they navigating through this whole immigration stuff. I talked about that during my live, one of my lives earlier during the week. I heard there's money being put out there. Y'all, did y'all hear that they're willing to pay in the state of Mississippi? What do you call that? The people who can what was that dog? What was that? Were they headhunter? What is that called? Where they call bounty hunters? They're willing to pay bounty hunters in Mississippi $1,000 per person, per illegal immigrant that they capture and bring to them. So when I just heard about that, I'm like, wow, that just sounds crazy, dangerous. Like, it was just so many thoughts that came to my head. I never even thought about Mississippi having a lot of people, Hispanic people there. But hell, I guess, you know, you really got Hispanic. They everywhere now, you know. But I was just like, wow. I just really got to thinking about from a safety perspective with people that's, you know, what do you call that? Dealing with law enforcement. You rolling up on people and trying to capture them, like how that's going to go. Are people going to have a respect to a bounty hunter as they would to ICE or a police officer? I don't know. But anytime I ever heard talks about a bounty hunter, I don't know. I just always wonder, like, what the safety look like in that? Like, what type of parameters do they have when it comes to apprehending you with putting hands on you? Like, what can they have weapon? Like, what we doing when a bounty hunter roll up on you? Because I hadn't heard the name of a bounty hunter in so long. I forgot. Y'all remember, was that dog that used to have a reality show? That was the first time I heard about a bounty hunter. Then back when I was younger, I would hear about bounty hunters dealing with people who was like out there on the run, just living that street life, and the people was on their necks with trying to capture them. But it's been a long time since I heard discussion centered around a bounty hunter. So now it's come back up. They are offering bounty hunters in the state of Mississippi $1,000 per person. Dog the bounty hunter. Yes, Virtues, you remember that? So I'm like, Lord, they about to bring Dog out of retirement, because if they hollering $1,000 per head, and y'all know most of these Hispanics, they roll deep. So you ain't just rolling up on one. It's gonna be quite a few of them. So you can get you a cool 5,000. And listen, it's gonna be at least 5 of them. And don't let you mess around and roll up on them. Let you mess around and roll up on them at a soccer game, or you know, some family function, because you know they like to get together and do stuff, you know, with the family and stuff. I live in, like I said, in Georgia, in my community. You know, I'll see Hispanics, you know, they'll be playing the sports, you know, the baseball, things like that. So you definitely good for rolling up on at least a good 5+ of them at one time, because that you just don't see them rolling by themselves. I don't see it. So yeah. So I said bounty Dog might come out of retirement for this one, because they talking money and times hard, groceries going up. He might have to put his hair in a ponytail and come on back out here. Come on back out here. But be vigilant, folks. So yeah, it's just crazy. My thing is, you know, if you hear legally, If you're here legally doing and you doing what you're supposed to do, listen. From what I'm seeing, the issue just has been around those who aren't legal. And from what the government is saying is that if you're not legal, you are breaking the law. So it's not necessarily centered around if you did something like criminally wrong, like action over here. They're like, hey, if you're over here and you're not legal, that's in the same category. Now they're saying now we are taking priority over picking up those who are like really doing like harm to people. They're taking priority. But they're saying it doesn't mean that you haven't broken a law just because you haven't done harm to someone. We're just prioritizing them first with picking them up. But because you're over here and you're not legal, you also have broken the law because you're not here legally. So what they say is layers to it. It's layers to it. You got people who are over here illegally and doing the absolute most. And you got people who are over here illegally just trying to just live a life and take care of their family. Arian, like you said, they're everywhere. They are. And I just never really I've been in Mississippi a few times. Like I said, my brother, he lives there. He was raised there. So I've gone there with visiting him over the years. But I'm from California. So they dang sure deep out there. I grew up in California, Northern California, the Bay Area. So I grew up with a lot of Hispanics and a lot of Filipinos. There was some whites, but heavy Filipino, Hispanic, very diverse, great community to be raised in, very diverse. So I did like that. But yeah, like I said, if you rolling up on some Hispanics, it's going to be a lot because somebody talked about in New York, I think earlier this week, there was an arrest of 15 of them. Like they were all staying in one apartment unit, a one bedroom. And it was like 15 of them. Like the neighbors were saying the people had just came and just straight took over. It was the same apparently people who had did that in Colorado that took over that apartment building. Did y'all hear when that happened? The people, there was some people from another country. I forget the country they were from. But they took over an apartment building, child. They was collecting the rent from the people and everything, like knocking on the door, rent due. Ain't that some ish? The people who then came, took over, the illegals, knocking on your door trying to collect the rent. So apparently in New York, in this community, somebody who was a part of that little situation and made their way to New York and was like doing the same thing. I didn't hear where they were trying to take the rent or nothing, but they were just hanging out in the hallways, like just making it just so hard and just inconvenient for the residents who are there, working, paying their bills, just going to work, sending their kids off to school, just doing. I truly believe that most Hispanics that are over here are on the up and up. I think it's a small percentage that's making it bad for everybody else. And that percentage is probably maybe 15, 20%. Maybe not even that high. But I believe that the bulk of the people who are here just working and trying to have a better life for their families. I truly believe. But what they say, sometimes one bad seed can mess it up for the others. And I think that's what happened. The illegals that have come over here that have broken the laws is brought attention to the whole entire group. So now the whole group is being looked at as a magnifying glass when all of them aren't the bad seeds. It's a handful of them. It's maybe 15, maybe anywhere from 10 to 20%. But because what they're doing is so egregious, it's forcing the government to just have to look at everything. And when they look at everything, they're like, okay, yeah, you ain't been over here doing the absolute most, but it looks like you're not here illegally anyway. So to be fair, anybody who's not here illegally, you just need to go. See what I'm saying? They're just trying to just have it all like you shouldn't have been over here anyway. I understand you've been over here, doing good things, whatever, but you're not here legally. So we're asking you to return home and apply to come back the right way. So what I'm hearing is that if ICE picks you up, then that forfeits you having the opportunity to come over here the right way. Y'all let me know if y'all heard that. But that's a new caveat that I've heard, to where if they got to come picking you up, knocking on your door, doing whatever, then you now have lost the opportunity to come back legally. If you go ahead and leave and bow out gracefully on your own, then you good. But if we got to come and assist you, basically, I equate it to almost like you in trouble. Whether you turn yourself in, a lot of times that look better than if they got to come and apprehend you. So turning yourself in is almost like, okay, let me go on and get out of here and go home. Versus, okay, we got to come roll up on you. That equates to the folks coming up to what they said they've been going to churches, hospitals. Some people have said schools. It's kind of like that same mentality. So you're going to always, a lot of times, fare out better when you go ahead and do what you need to do on your own versus the government or the police or anybody happen to come up. Because most of the time, really, when you think about it, legal situations, they talk about it. It's always better if you go and turn yourself in, like, versus them coming to get you. It just looks better if you just, what they say, cooperate. Whatever it is the cooperation looks like, it's going to look better if you cooperate. And the cooperation right now, the government has, what cooperation looks like for them is like, you need to go ahead and leave on your own. Kind of like that girl who got pissed off that her food stamps got taken, the child support for the grandkids got taken. She said she deported her damn self. She said, I'm about to, what did she say? What was her word? She said she about to flee the country. She said, I'm about to flee, y'all. I'm about to flee the country. I ain't finna tell y'all where I'm going. Y'all see how she took matters in her own hands. I don't even know. I'm assuming, like, I don't even know what her legal situation is over here. But she said she was leaving the country on her own. She was proactive with it. So that's what being proactive looks like when they put out a message. And you like, you know what? These folks ain't playing. Let me just go on and just raise up out of here. It's been a nice little run, but let me go on and raise up out of here. So you got some people who are doing that. I've seen that there was some, I was hearing a couple of weeks ago, some Hispanics, they was selling their cars. I guess they trying to get their money together. I don't know with the selling the car was so they have more money on hand. So therefore, as they try to move around, hide behind corners, behind whatever, or if they was trying to get that money together because they knew, okay, I'm about to be proactive and go back home. I don't know. But nonetheless, the government is saying that they are not done with doing a sweep with rounding up anyone who's here illegally. And it's not just a Mexican thing. And some people think that it's that, but it's not. It's Haitian and like anybody who's here illegally. I will say I do believe that it's much easier to identify or to, I think Hispanics because Hispanics have brown skin and Haitians have black skin. It's easier for them to, I don't want to say this because like I've talked about, or some people have said that you got white people over here who aren't here legally either. And they come from like Europe, Germany, like these other countries, but they got white skin. So when you're walking past them in the streets, you're not thinking anything of it. So hold on. So people are thinking that white people, can y'all hear me? Make sure y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. I just started up my car. I need to charge my phone. White people, because this country is literally white, when you're walking past a white person, more often than not, it's not someone thinking or of whether or not this person is like when, thank you, Ariane, like when you're walking past someone who's Hispanic or someone who has darker skin, like, a black person or somebody, coming from Africa. A lot of times somebody coming from Africa, their skin looks different, it's a darker complexion. So I think that there's probably more conversations had with those people when they're crossing path, with those people versus the white people. I do believe that. I don't think that's fair, but it was someone who kind of made a comment out here on the internet, and I'm like, wow, that is true, because I just never thought about that. Because anytime we're in conversations centered around immigrants and illegals, it's always conversation is about people of darker skin complexions. It's not ever like, we don't talk about white people that are here illegally who have overstayed, because what I've heard is like, if you got a visa, and it's good for X amount of years, let's just say 3 years, or you're even over here, for school, and it expired, and it's not renewed to where they say, hey, you can stay, you just in expired status, you have broken the law. You are breaking the law. You are breaking the law. In these roundups that I've been following in the media, I have not heard about any stories centered around white people who have white skin who have been rounded up. I haven't. I've heard of stories with Asians. I've heard, and I hadn't even thought about the Asians, being on the chopping block either. I just hadn't even thought about it because the conversation has always kind of been centered around like Hispanics. So once everything started popping off, that's when I started hearing about, with, Haitians, who else? Asians, the other groups, and someone saying, well, what about with white people? And it's like, wow, there are other groups of people from other countries who very well come over here and extend their stay illegally. So it's unfortunate that people with the darker skin complexion a lot of times people of the darker skin complexions, we gotta abide by rules that other groups of people don't have to, where they can kind of, play and teeter-totter. Like, we don't have that because it's visible that we may possibly not be from here because of our skin. Whereas with a white person, that's not the case. Because probably most of the countries, it's probably going to be somebody with white skin. So, hell, they look like they can be from anywhere, versus with the darker skin, we're not showing up like that in as many, locations. So it's easier for somebody to be able to justify with tapping us on the shoulder. I know I was talking to my mom, and she's like, someone she works with was like, they have to drive. She's a Hispanic woman. And she was just really nervous and stuff, and she's legal, but she was like, she has to drive around still with her papers because she never knows when she's going to be questioned about her status and if she's legally here. So she got to ride around just in case somebody kind of want to be like, yo, let me holler at you. She got to be able to kind of, like, you pull out your driver, your insurance card, like she got to pull out her papers to show that, hey, yes, I'm from here, but, I'm from wherever, but I am here legally. Here are my documents. I am documented. I am not an undocumented. And when my mom shared that story with me, I just got to thinking about them being in a situation that many of us Black people have been in for many, many years, where we found ourselves having to constantly justify ourselves or justify something in a way that other people didn't have to. Like, we always had to approve ourselves. Or I grew up like learning how we got to be 10 times better, because they're already looking for us to fail. So we got to make sure that we're the best. We got to be the best. Like, we can't just be good. Like, we got to be the best, because they're not expecting, outside of sports, the basic sports that we dominate in. I'm just talking about just like your regular workforce, your white collar, blue collar jobs. Like, they don't have high expectations of us in those environments. Like, even though we may perform very high, we're not getting flowers like that on that level. So we have to perform in a way that it leaves no question about how good we are. We have to become knowledgeable in areas and educated in areas to where no matter how they slice it and dice it, they can't take that away. When you learn things, like, they can't take away your knowledge, your education. These are things that you have. Knowledge is power. They can't take that away from us. So we really have to hone in and recognize those areas that we have control over, to where we just elevate and dominate so much to where it has to be acknowledged. You gonna acknowledge this. And so now when I was listening to, my mom tell me the story with the Hispanic lady and talking about, with now having to ride around with papers, like she's got to prove herself and it don't feel good. No, it doesn't feel good, but it's the story of our lives. Many Black people can relate to that. We constantly having to prove ourselves Because Lord forbids in certain environments, especially even academia, you be recognized like in an environment as being the top and you brown skin. That ain't listen, they ain't on roll with that. I've seen that just within my family with nieces, like my daughter, my niece, like very smart. And my niece she's 12 and she goes to a school that's lily white. You probably can count the black people. And my niece, every year since she's been there in whatever class she's in, she's the top of the class. So child, at award time, sis is cleaning up with the acknowledgments. But my sister talked about how when she looks around the room and she sees the reaction of the people, they don't really like that. They don't like that she's black, but she's up there standing next to another white person or an Asian. They don't like that. And I believe that in our country, it's more acceptable for the other groups of people to be standing up there along the whites than the blacks. I don't know, I do something today, but my sister has peeped that. So with my daughter, it didn't take until she was middle school before the first time a teacher asked her if she'd ever been tested for gifted. Now, my child been smart all her life. all her life. She's 15 now. She's in 9th grade. She was questioned about if she'd ever been in gifted in the 7th grade. When she came home telling me that her teacher had questioned her, I asked her because I already knew, my daughter's a child. So at this point, she was like 12, going on 13. She said, yeah, my teacher asked me if I'd ever been tested for gifted. And I asked her, I said, what color is this teacher? She said she's black. It's my math teacher. I knew why she was just now being questioned, because it was somebody within our community who took notice of her. And the previous teachers were people that weren't a part of our community that didn't want to take notice. You see? It's like, oh, okay, let's kind of still keep her here. We don't want to present this to her. But it took for a black woman. That's why it's important for our children to be in environments with people who look like them. Because sometimes people who don't look like us don't always look out for us in the same way that they look out for their own. So we got to kind of keep that in mind. So she said her teacher questioned her because she took notice for one, my daughter was doing very well in her math class. And also she noticed that, my daughter she was a violinist. My daughter plays the violin. So she said the teacher kind of started talking to her and equating to, music and academia and how that lines up. And basically she's seen all the makings that could contribute to why my daughter performs on the level that she performs in the, in the area of academia. So they sent a letter home asking if they can test her. And she went through this long round of tests. And she would come home and she'd be like, okay, they pulled me today. I went to go do a test. And she'll try to describe what the test was. Then randomly later, it went on for several months with them testing her. And she was saying that with some of her peers or another friend she was talking to, she was saying that she didn't get tested as much as my daughter did. It didn't last as long. And I'm trying to think. I think her friend, she was accepted in it, but her friend, I think her friend was an Indian young girl. And she said, okay, well, I went through the test, but I didn't go through that many. I think they were testing my daughter to see where she would tap out at. You know what I'm saying? Like when you give somebody a test and they're excelling and they knocking it out the park and you want to keep seeing how far they gonna go. So I think that's what was happening with my daughter, but they weren't saying that. It's just like, oh, snap, she scored this. Let's see how far it goes to see what she peaks at. I feel like that's what they were doing. And so they came back to me maybe at the end of the school year, gave me her test results, was like, yep, definitely 8th grade, all gifted. Everything she's going to be doing is being gifted. My daughter wasn't excited about that because she had just built some relationships with kids in the 7th grade. And now she was going to be in a separate floor, side of the school that was only gifted. So her thing was, I don't want to be around all those smart kids. Like, girl, you are one of them too. But she looked at them as like they was different. But they showed me her test. She scored super high. And in one category, they said that one thing they had never seen before and was very rare is that when they talked with all her teachers, because, you know, in middle school, high school, you got like like 6-7 teachers. Every teacher, when they had to ask question and interview the teachers about her, they all scored 100% on whatever questions they were asked about her as far as if she should be in that environment. That lady said, white woman, she was like, you don't see this where you get 100% in this category. So fast forward, first semester just ended for the school year. My daughter is in the top 3%. She's number 20 out of 700 and something kids in her class. She takes all honors and gifted, whatever child classes that her mama wasn't taking, or her daddy. Classes mama or daddy wasn't taking. She in all them classes. But she's in, you know, when I did the math on it, I told her, I was like, oh, Alana, you're in the top 3. It was like 2.9% when I did the math on the numbers to see where her percentage falls. So that's where she is. So I say all that to say that sometimes you may be winning, but nobody ain't told you you're winning. You got to know when you're winning. You got to know when your people are winning, and you got to step in and acknowledge it, because everybody ain't finna always be here for your greatness. And you will have some people that will not want to acknowledge your greatness, because that means that they have to acknowledge that you're on a higher level than they are. So it took to 7th grade a black math teacher to take notice in another black young girl. If your kids are performing, doing great things, and you do not feel like they are being acknowledged in the way that you feel like they should, say something. Bring attention to it. Because chances are likely if you damn notice it, they notice it too. Say something. Inquire about these tests. Inquire about it. Bring it up to them. Say, hey, my daughter been killing and getting these grades or whatever. My daughter is a straight A student. Like my daughter, I think last semester, her lowest grade was probably like a 97. Me and my husband's cousin laughed because we talked about, hell, we was the type of student that might have been our highest grade. That was baby girl lowest grade. Her other grades, her GPA was over 4.0. So she be having 100 and something in classes. Child. That's what she be coming through with. That is what she be coming through with. So she on a whole nother level. But you all may know people or have children who are on another level as well. And no one has done anything with it to kind of build on that. No one has acknowledged that. So pay attention to that. Pay attention that, and when it comes to yourself as well as your babies, be an advocate for them. And I'm thankful that that teacher was an advocate for my daughter, because it never crossed my mind why, about the gifted. And my daughter at that time, she was like, I used to wonder, why I wasn't in gifted, or I want to be a part, because she had friends that were in gifted at that time, and they were white friends. And she said she used to wonder, and think about like, what was that, when they would get pulled out of class and they do whatever. But no one in elementary had ever kind of brought anything to her, even though I would get good reports when I go to parent-teacher conferences. Everything was always good and solid. No one ever thought to say, hey, we want to test her. Not until 7th grade, black math teacher. So I'll always remember that, because she was the first one to acknowledge the greatness, in her academic environment, the greatness of my daughter. Because I always knew she was great. She was, because her grades were what they was. But I didn't know nothing about trying to push it, because my 2 sons, they weren't learners like her. They learned differently. Their learning was kind of very similar. It wasn't as like baby girl just gets it like that. That's not how they were. So she was my first child, and my last one, and my only girl who learned that way. So I didn't know. I just like, okay, yeah, she's smart, but she's always been smart. I didn't really know. It's like, you don't really know what to do with that. But now, she's out here winning, doing great things, awesome things. Loves, learning Spanish. She takes Spanish. She wants to be fluent in that. She aspires to be a doctor, a surgeon, or a medical examiner. She likes the idea with studying dead bodies, learning how they died. So it's either that or a surgeon. but she's known she wanted to be a surgeon since she was 6 years old. So she already, actually at 6, she said she wanted to be she learned. So this is what would amaze the teachers. She told me at 6. So y'all remember the character Doc McStuffins? Like, that's why it's TV impacts our children. We have to be mindful of what they're watching. My daughter used to be a huge Doc McStuffins fan. You all, those of you who don't know what Doc McStuffins is, she is a cartoon character. I don't even know if she's still on TV because I don't watch regular TV. She was a cartoon character, and she was a doctor, and she was a veterinarian. Doc McStuffins. My daughter she had a Doc McStuffin themed birthday party one year, I think when she was turning like 5 or 6. And she wore the whole little outfit and had just super cute. And then that is what inspired her to want to be a doctor. So to take it a step further, I explained to her what type of doctor Doc McStuffin was. She's like a veterinarian. She worked on like animals. So I explained to her. So I'm like, okay, you want to do that or work on people? She said, work on people. So then I took it to another level. I said, okay, well, what do you want to work on people? So I introduced her to the different body parts. I was having this conversation with her at 6 years old, but your cue. What they say, you got to know your audience. I was able to have that kind of conversation with her. She was always advanced. So I introduced her to the different types of surgeons. So we researched on the internet, and I told her, okay, you got the heart surgeon, you got the brain surgeon, you got everything. Then we even showed like, okay, these are the different earning potentials. Baby girl, which one you want to do? She said, this is 6. She says, I want to be the stomach surgeon. So she learned about the word gastrointestinal surgeon. Since the age of 6, my daughter have been telling people she wants to be not a GI surgeon, a gastrointestinal surgeon. That is what she been saying since she was 6. So when she would tell a lot of adults, when they ask, oh, what do you want to be? And she had hit them with that. They didn't even know what the hell that was. But that's what she wanted to be. That is what she wanted to be. So she's always been on a different type of level, and I recognize that. So I would push her. And I'd have her to think more and more and more to where, so therefore it'd have her to be that much more motivated to keep going. So now at 15, she wants to be married, have kids. So I've taught her over the years about the demands of being a doctor, a surgeon, and all the hours they put in, and how a lot of times if it's a woman doctor, she doesn't birth a lot of kids because really all your 20s are in school. So by the time she's probably getting it popping with having babies, married, all that, you're now in your early 30s. So I had to teach her that. So therefore she can decide which was going to take the priority, her career or her family. Because guess what? I get tired of hearing on the internet, you got all these women who have prioritized their careers and they looking crazy now that they want to have babies and they talking about they got bad eggs. We weren't finna do that. I'm all about being proactive. I've had conversations about my daughter of what it looks like as a life being a doctor. We got to be realistic with this. If you want to be a doctor, this is likely what your life is going to look like. You are not going to be birthing out 5 kids unless they all came at one time. I'm just going to tell you. Unless they all came out in one whop, in one push, you are not going to be birthing 5 children. It's not going to happen. You damn near pregnant for a year. You ain't finished with school until you now at the top of 30s. Getting married, how? I'm a realist. So it had her to start thinking about, okay, let me think about what type of doctor I want to be. Because I hear what you're saying. And I do want a family that mimics, that looks a lot like our family. That is what she said. She wants a family. She told me, I want my family to look like our family. She was like, what I do know is I do not want to marry a doctor because I know that being a doctor is demanding and I would want him to at least be at home to be able to get the kids off to school. Child, she said that to me at like 12. Super smart. My daughter can break ish down. Remember, I'm her mama, so she can break it down. She was like, so I don't want him to be a doctor. We both cannot be a doctor. This is her mindset. She wants at least one parent to be more available than she may be. She's thinking this shit through. And unfortunately, there's a lot of women that didn't think this ish through. And they went out here making these decisions. And now they 40, 38 looking crazy. Talking about, I can't find a man. I want to have kids. I didn't go freeze my eggs. Every time I looked in the mirror, I still looked 25. So I thought my body was aging like I was 25. it doesn't work that way. Just because, and I can understand the black woman, because y'all, we be looking good. Y'all, it's a whole think piece every time I share my age with people. When I share my age, tell them how many kids, like that's a whole topic. So, but sometimes people get caught up in that, and they think that just because aesthetically they still look young, that their body is aging that way. And how tight my skin is on my face, that has no bearing on how my eggs, my fallopian tubes, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, y'all. That has nothing to do with nothing. This is just how my face look or how my body look from exercise, but it has nothing to do with the anatomy, what's inside, how that ish works. And so many people, I guess they didn't have nobody kicking game to them like I kicked my daughter, because it is not an option for my daughter to be moving out here and going out in this world being lost. I'm not going to be that person to say, yes, you can have it all, because I believe that there's always going to be a sacrifice and something is going to give. You can't be on top in your career soaring like that and also be on top in your parenting. Something is going to give. It is what it is. So I needed my daughter to understand that before she invested too much time, money, and energy in medical school, and still having a mindset of, I want to get married and have 5 kids. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to sell you on a dream. No, I'm going to kick reality to you. So that's what prompted her to start thinking about being a body examiner and thinking about being just maybe a general surgeon versus a specialized surgeon. It has her thinking differently. So guess what? When it comes time for her to enter college or medical school, she got more of an idea of like what type of direction she want to go based off of what she want her family situation to look like. Because she told me it's more important for her to have a family that looks like what she wants it to look than her to have a career and get into the money. Her family was more important. And I don't knock anybody who values one over the other. My thing is, God damn it, you got to pick one. 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 You're delusional if you thinking that you can have it all and everything gonna be given what it's supposed to give. No, because y'all, let me bring it home. Think about some of the celebrities out here who are really high up doing big things. Ask yourself, do they have children? And then if they do, ask yourself how many kids they have. Let's start with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah ain't got no damn kids. Kamala ain't got no damn kids. Like, take notice of a lot of high-performing women that are up there. They don't have children. What about you finding time to raise some kids and change some diapers if you trying to get to and you trying to be up there and play in the fields with the men? It ain't happening. It's not happening. These are women who have prioritized their careers. I'm not mad at you if you do that. But you can't be that person that do that and then want to be on Diddy, Beyonce internet crying on TikToks talking about you can't find a good man, because now at age 38, 40, you now on a swivel looking for one and ready to have babies because your bank account on swole and you got this big house and you riding this nice car. How, Sway? To me, y'all, this shit is not that deep. It's real basic. It's real basic. So that's why I'm like, what they say, well, you got to raise your kids in a way in which they, listen, I'm over here raising my damn kids and letting them know, listen, this ish that y'all see that you may want, you got to be realistic. Everything is achievable, but you have to be realistic about how to go about doing it. So with me, given that I do have education, all my degrees, all my education came while being a mom. So I can attest that shit can be done with you getting degrees and shit while being a mama. All mine. I used to say I got enough degrees for all of them to sit and hold and take a damn picture. Plus, I got one extra one. At that time, I was saying that because I only had 3. After I said all that, hell, I ended up getting 4. That's when I got my master's in clinical mental health counseling. That's my 4th degree. My other degrees are business degrees all the way up to a master's degree, an MBA. Child, I got all that ish while being a mom. I started my first college class at 9 months pregnant. 9 months pregnant, I started my first class online. It was not an option for me to go and sit in a class. Why? I'm now married with child. Where? Houseway? How I'm finna go sit in somebody's class to achieve that? But guess what? I knew there was this new thing that was rising where people was doing stuff online. I was scared as ish. But I said, I got to try it because it was always my goal, my dream to get my bachelor's degree. That was it, y'all. I wasn't expiring for nothing more than that. Listen, I just need to get this damn BA, listen. Because I was sold that shit. You at least got that. You got a fighting chance. That was the only thing. That was the only goal I had. It was just that. Literally went in, gave birth. Child, my program, I didn't have no maternity, no breaks. Literally went in, pushed that baby with that big ass head out, because he tore me up from the rooter to the tutor, because his head, big as head. Came home, pulled the laptop out, got back to working. So I know what it is to do what you got to do and to not live in the excuses, because there are we got so many reasons that we can say why we can't do some shit. Let's talk about why we can. Get motivated. That is where my motivation came from. It was my goal. And I said, I am going to achieve this goal as a mother. So that degree I was just describing, that was just an associate's degree. I went from a 2-year associate's degree, you all, to you all are sitting looking at a woman who has 2 master's degrees. So you can do it. After I got the associate's degree, remember I told you my dream was the bachelor's degree. I kept going, and then I got that. What prompted me to then get my master's is because at that time, I'm like, hell, I don't want to be paying these student loans, so let me just go ahead and work on another degree to buy time. Child, that was the only motivation for that master's degree. It's in marketing. That was the only motivation, because I'm like, I do not want to deal with paying these loans. Let me just go ahead and just get me another degree out, child. Let me buy me some more time. Promise you, y'all, that it wasn't no deeper than that. It was about my pockets. And in my mind, I feel like, well, of course, if I get a higher degree, then that'll be able to, have me to demand a higher pay and all of that. So that's what I did. I got a degree and I got a master's degree. Now, the last master's degree I got, the second one I got, the reason why I got that is because by the time I got in my early 30s, I developed this interest in counseling. So when I looked into that, they were like, well, you already got a master's degree. So, if you enroll in the program, the only thing that makes sense for you to do is to enroll in the master's program. And I'm like, okay. Because it could have been still another, it was about just getting a degree, not the level. But they were like, yo, you already have the highest degree. You already have an advanced degree, a master's. So this would just be a second master's. So I'm like, okay. That's how I got damn 2 masters. Yeah. So it wasn't me coming out the gate wanting all this stuff. It was not. It was just over time, things happened and transpired that had me to keep going, because guess what? I saw what I was capable of. So I pushed myself, and here we are. So I don't like to hear people talk about what the hell they can't do when they ain't got no man, they ain't got no kids. I'm the last one to be talking to about it. I am the last one to be talking to about it. Because your girl did it with a husband, 3 kids, and I didn't tell you, and I worked a full-time job the entire time. My sister-in-law was over there working on her master's degree a couple of years ago, was about to lose her mind, and she's an at-home mama when she was taking 2 classes to work on her master's degree in finance. Sis wasn't even working no job, and her 2 kids were like high school kids. Girl. So when I think about what I did, I can see why a lot of people may be surprised, like, oh, how the hell you do that? I don't know, y'all. I just put my head down and I went to work. I just knew I needed to do it. Sometimes it be just that simple where you can't speak to it. You ain't got the words to how or the why. You just know some shit got to be done, and you just do it. And I was motivated to want more. I just wanted more for my family. And I felt like, well, if I continue to do this, it allowed for me to increase my earning potential and to create a better life for my family. And everything that I've done, that's what it's been about. So that's my story. For any of those who are new to my channel, I am Chic, and I be doing the absolute goddamn most in all kinds of different things. But I'm just self-motivated. And if I see that somebody else can do something, my mind is like, bitch, damn, I can do it too. So right now I'm working on some new ventures where once I kind of get to a good place, I'm going to bring it out to you all to show you all. But that's what it's about, you know, self-motivation. And hey, Angie R, she says, Chic, I missed you so much. Happy you're here and trying to catch hope everyone's having a relaxing day. Yes, we are. Thank you. PM say, hey, Chic in chat, love it. Ariane says, Chic, it was another plane crash in Chicago. Child, fix it. I have to get into it. Lord Jesus. And y'all, I'm scheduled to fly. I was telling my husband, he wasn't excited about it, but I just booked the flight just last night. I was up probably, you know, because I have to travel for business to California on Sunday, next Sunday. And I'm not one to live in fear. If y'all haven't figured that out from me talking for however many hours I've been talking, I don't live in fear. I'm a spiritual person, I'm a spiritual woman. I pray, but I don't live in fear. I do have travel plans coming up because I have to go for work. And for me, it's not an option to not go because of what's going on. But just so you know, just, you know, keep me lifted and everyone else lifted as we still have to navigate out here in these streets, because we got to still take care of business, and we can't let the things that are taking place in this world sit us down and put us at a stop because we start to live and move in fear. We cannot do that. And what I ran down to you all, what I did, it was me putting my courage over fear, because like I said, when I first took my first college class at age 24, so I had my son at 24, got married at 23, birthed my son at 24, and took my first college class at 24. I was very scared. I was afraid. I didn't know anyone who'd done anything like that. I was the first one, you know, in my household out of my siblings to, you know, go to college. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And once I graduated, I became the first one in my family, in my generation, to earn a college degree. And I would say right now, I'm sure I'm the one, I hold the most college degrees in my family, because as a result of me doing what I did, I motivated other family members, you know, sisters, cousins, other people to do, you know, do just that. So that's what it's about. You know, I have no problem being the first to do something. I'm a natural leader, motivator. So it was perfectly fine that I did it first, because if I can do it and show somebody that it can be done, and many of them who did it after me, when they had no man, no kids, so they knew what my life looked like, which was nothing like what their life looked like. So find something to get motivated by. You can do it. You can do it. Kind of like Oprah's favorite things at Christmas time. You can do it. You can do it. Self-talk. If you don't have anybody in your corner boosting you up, boost yourself up. Think back to me telling my story. Find something, some way to get motivated, because you're going to have those weak moments, and you're going to feel tired and like, oh my God, and want to throw in the towel. But you have to be reminded on why you're doing it, why you signed up to do it in the first place, because you are guaranteed to have those moments where you're going to be like, F it all, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. There's always way more reasons to find to not do something than to find to do something. That is what I found in life. So I look for the reasons of the why. And a lot of times my why is rooted in being an example for others, because I know a lot of people aren't like me, where they're okay with being the first to do something. They're okay with being a leader. I know that's just not, I think leaders are born. I think leaders are born. I don't think you really make them. You can, but I really think it's like, to be an essence of a leader, it's born. This way I have about me isn't anything that's taught. It's just who I am. This is just who I am. I was born this way. And I understand that everybody's not built like me, and that's fine. So when I come out here and I give my message, I'm doing it from a place of knowing that everybody don't come from where I come from. Everybody ain't got the same mindset as me, the same strength. I know that. But what I want you to know is what my story is, and that most likely it ain't what many people may have assumed it was. It's more so like, damn, if you was doing all that. Like, the people don't know. That's why I always say, y'all, talk to people, learn people's stories, because you may be surprised at how they got to where they got, because so often we just see them winning where they're at, and we don't know the path that they went on to get where they are. And more often than not, like, people are willing to share their testimony and tell you like how they got here. if you're willing to listen. And a lot of times people's ears are turned off when it's nothing sexy, it's nothing simple, and like, oh snap, I don't want to do all that. Okay, well, you asked. This is how I got here. This is how I got here. Wasn't to say because I'm married to some white man. I ain't never even been in a relationship like that with no white man. Like, so don't assume that because you're discrediting the fruits of my labor. My black husband, like, don't do that. Don't do that. Listen to me. No. Like, I'm tapped in with the culture. I know what's going on. I live over here in this neighborhood, but I like to still, and when I say I listen to that, the ratchet YouTube channel, I like to tap into different environments because I don't want to live in a bubble and only know what's going on in my community. I want to know what's going on in other areas. Like, what are y'all talking about? What type of struggles? What y'all had? What's going on now? Like, I like to hear what's going on because I know that everybody don't live like me or to live where I am. And so I want to see, like, I'm open, like, talk to me. What's going on over here then? You never been over in my neighborhood. Let me tell you, over in my neighborhood, you got black people who do, go to work and work hard and make money and do that. And you say in your neighborhood, you see something different. Okay, well, I'm an example of someone who lives in a different neighborhood that you can aspire to live in that's doing something else. That's why I like to go into different spaces because I think it's just, I come to see that you got a lot of people who have not been anywhere, been exposed to anything more than what they have. And they just out here like ain't got a clue. They ain't got a clue. Hamdi says, like Candace said, we can't love in fear, gotta trust in the Lord. Wow, like I like that, but that's so true. What's up, Francis? Hey, Hamdi. PM says, you will be fine, Sheik. Thank you so much. So yes, like you gotta tell yourself that you will be fine because a lot of us out here thinking that we're not going to be fine just because you don't have anyone telling you that you will be fine. I'm here to tell you, you will be fine. And it's going to start with you having faith in yourself and leaning into a higher power so you can have the strength to keep going. And, find a motivator. If you got babies, children, be motivated by them. Because my motivation has been, I want my children, if they say anything, one thing about their mom, I want them to say, my mama was always a hardworking woman and worked very hard to provide and give us the lifestyle that she did and to teach us the things that she did to prepare us the best that she could for the world. That's what I want. And I tell people, like my daughter aspiring to be a surgeon, whatever, I tell people, I don't care if she become a doctor or not. She become whatever she wants. But what I do care about is what type of human being, adult she becomes in life. What I do care about is she's a nice person and not a menace to society. I care about how she treating people, how she's showing up for herself, how she moving with self-respect. Those are the things I care about. I don't care about that other stuff. Because those are the things, how she moving as a person, that's going to speak to how she was raised. That's me. That's where I come in there at. You ever see somebody out here doing the absolute most and y'all say, damn, who was they raised by? That's a real statement. That is real. You naturally gonna be like, who the hell raised them? Because they sure doing the absolute most. That's why I say people not really saying that when they learn somebody's exactly virtuous. They not saying that when they learn about somebody's more so profession. They're saying that when they see how somebody's moving, their behaviors. That's why I say with my daughter, like, that's what's most important to me, that she knows who she is. She knows that she can do whatever she puts her mind to. She knows with hard work, she can come out on top. She knows that she's smart. She knows that she can go into a room and exert herself and share the knowledge. She knows that. She knows that she can lead. She knows that she can walk with her head up, her back straight. She knows all that. Y'all, that ain't got nothing to do with no job, because guess what? All that coming out, that's a byproduct of that. It's about her. Who is she? Do my daughter know who she is? Because if my daughter shows that she don't, I'm going to feel disappointed in myself. And I'm going to feel that I failed as a parent, that I did not show her how a woman should move and navigate in these streets. That I did not show her how a woman should be strong and assertive and to demand attention and to have respect for herself and to respect others. That is when I want to feel like I failed, if she's not doing all of that. Not if she don't become a doctor, because I really don't care. I mean, it's nice, but okay, girl. Do you, boo? Go and get all that schooling in. That's on you. But you better be out here acting like you got some sense, because that's a representation of me. That is a representation of me. I promise. That's what's most important for me. Virtuous says, at my destination, so I catch the replay. Great chat. Thanks, Virtuous. Thank you for modding, as usual. Ariane, so family of the wolves. So, yes, like, y'all, just always remember that we've been on here for a little while. Just remember that there's always someone watching. There's always someone watching. Even when you think they aren't, there's always someone watching. So be mindful of how you're moving. Be mindful of how you're moving. And go within, dig within when it comes to finding the strength, the motivation to want more. Go within, because you're not going to always have cheerleaders. Sometimes you will, but sometimes you won't. But those moments where you don't, you have to still keep going, and you can't, bow out and say, okay, it's time to fold him, because grandmama ain't there no more in your corner, because she done left and gone on to glory. Granddaddy ain't there. Mama and daddy ain't there. My brother and my sister ain't here no more. They didn't got locked up. They didn't went and did time. I don't care no more. You can't have that mindset, because when you initially start from a place from within and doing it for yourself, you always got yourself. So that's going to keep you going. That's going to be the thing that keeps you going. And just know that those other people, because remember I say somebody's always watching, even when they're not here in physical form, they're still watching. Just know that. Ariane says, Sheik, it was another plane crash in Chicago. I'm about to end this live when I get home. I have to meet up with a friend tonight. I'll probably get into that a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the next time I go live, I can talk about it. We'll see how the rest of my day go, because I have to have dinner with a friend for her birthday this evening. So I will try to do some research on that, about this plane crash in Chicago, because it's a lot. Like I said, last night I booked my flight. I have to travel to California and San Diego on Sunday for work. And I gotta, I'm going to still, get on that flight. But it's a lot going on. I'm just going to stay lifted in prayer. And Ariane says, okay, everyone be safe. Yeah, everyone be safe. Stay lifted in prayer, to whatever you pray for, whoever you pray to, because that's all you got at the end of the day, because as we see, it ain't nothing in these situations the pilot was able to do. So that's when I say you got to go within, you got to look upwards, because sometimes that's all you got in situations like these. Like, clearly that's all we got when it's coming to these planes. We literally, as I say, we going on a wing and a prayer. That's literally what we going on, a wing and a prayer. We going on a wing and a prayer through life. But it was nice catching up with you all on this wonderful, beautiful Sunday while I did my little walk and talk, partly car talk. But thanks for tapping in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't liked the video. And I don't know, I'm sure I'll be coming back sometime soon or in the week before I travel to talk about additional current events. Hey, Handy, love you. Love you too. Thank you, Handy, Ariane, Francis. Yeah, I miss you all. It's been a lot going on, and I've just been trying to get the whole life balance, all that stuff that I talk about, just lined up for me. And just, so that's what took so long for me to kind of come back out here. But it's been a lot going on. So, lately it's just been about like current events. So I think, when I come to you all, it's just going to be centered about current events. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. A lot of this stuff is heavy, and you need to talk about it. Air it out, share your thoughts, how it's impacting you, your loved ones. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's what we're here for. So I do thank you all for tapping in. And I'm Sheik, and I'll catch you on the next broadcast. Peace.